This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to Mansfield Park for this week's Borders Rugby Special. We're here for the next 3 hours bringing you the latest score updates and live commentary from our featured match today in the Premiership Play-off semi-final between Hawick, who finished top of the table, and Marr, who finished fourth, 29 points adrift of the Greens. But that counts for nothing at all because we move into the controversial knockout stage of the competition. We'll discuss the format very shortly with Rob and Purdie, both of us having contrasting views on the subject. But let's start with a chat I had with the two coaches earlier on today. We'll hear from Marr head coach Craig Redpath shortly, but first I caught up with Greens boss Matty Douglas. Well, Matty, no matter what people think about the format of the Premiership, even though you finished top of the table, it's playoffs, that's the rules, and that's what you've been focusing on all this week.
Yeah, look, Stuart, it's a massive occasion at the club today. I think first of all, to go back-to-back at the playoffs is a massive achievement, and look, the way the league is at the minute, to prove we are the best team in the league, we need to now go on and win the semi-final today. And look, massive focus has been this week that we're at home this season. I think we struggled a little bit at Marr last year, but look, there's a great buzz around the club, and look, we're excited to get cracking come 3 o'clock. A
very strong Marr side. You've got the Bicker staffs back, of course, and Gordy Reid and Colin Sturgeon, a lot of people you know, but looking at the Hawick side, very strong as well.
Yeah, look, we know how formidable Marr are. I said that on the Friday show, that look, they had a bit of sticky patch mid-season, but credit to Craig, you know, they know how to win. They know how to win on these big games, and they've done it last year. And look, they've got a lot of quality on that side. They've got a lot of experience. But on the flip side, you know, when you look at our side on paper, it's a really strong side, Stuart. And look, we've trained really well this week. And look, there's one thing at the front of the mind, and that's getting a win today. And pressure's a massive thing. There's a lot of it flying around, but I think these boys will deal with it today, and if we can get a good home support, you know, some of these senior players will really help that today. To have Nicky Little come back in is a massive boost at training this week as well. So yeah, look, we're really excited for it.
And it's been a tricky choice, isn't it, to decide what 15 wear the green today. And you've got Welsh instead of Ferguson, you've got Hector Patterson instead of Gareth Welsh. In fact, all the Welshes on the bench. What's wrong there? Yeah,
look, for me as a coach, I've always, you know, set my stall out in terms of selection, and I'll always pick on form. You know, Nicky Little and Dalton come back in because they have performed consistently over the season. Charlie Welsh took his opportunity against Jed, and since then has been a revelation in the side. And look, there's some boys miss out. You know, Tom Hope has contributed massively this season. He missed out today. So yeah, look, I'm not scared to make a decision, but at the same time, I feel as a coaching team we've got the best 15 players on the park that can, you know, get to 60 minutes for us. And then when you look at that bench, that's where, you know, I always remember Steve Hansen going on about it, that they're not subs, they're finishers, and these boys need to come on and keep a tempo that we can last 80 minutes at, and that's where we feel we can get a little bit upper hand on Marr, is when we get to 60 minutes. So they'll play a massive part in what's to come today.
The last time you were here at Mansfield Park, it was against GHA. It was a narrow victory, and they really did took the whole game to you. But then you went to Glasgow Hawks and a convincing win there. Was that a case of kind of getting the cobwebs out from the GHA game?
Yeah, look, we looked at it as a coaching team the last couple of weeks, and look, I'll, you know, make no bones about it, our performances that haven't really lived up to the Currie game here. And look, we looked at a few things at training with senior players, and you know, GHA, a lot of people said, you know, Hawick just won, but we put a massive effort in. If people weren't at the game, GHA probably played the best game of their season, and they chucked everything at us. And look, we taken a lot of positives for that, and last week at Hawks was just about building into the day, and I couldn't be any happier with the prep last week. We were professional. You know, we'd done everything that we wanted of them, and that's where we're at our best. When we stick to game management, we stick to the game plan, and we come alive in that opposition 22, and we use our set piece to our strengths. And look, we're going to need that today. You know, I think Marr Marr will surprise a lot of people with their performance today. Even 30 points behind, they know how to win. And look, it's for us to do now. We'll not be remembered for being undefeated. We'll be remembered for winning a Premiership. So look, we're focused and keen to get going at 3 o'clock.
Well, we wish you all the best. We want to see you back here in 7 days' time.
Yeah, hopefully. Perfect.
Cheers for now. Well, let's bring in Craig Redpath, Marr head coach for many, many years. Great to see you here today. Still at Marr, of course. You come here as Scottish champions, and you'll not be giving up that title without a fight.
Oh, I hope so anyway. We're here now, we've got a chance. As you say, you've got to be in it to win it. Really, really difficult game. Hawick, I don't know when they last lost here, so we're going to have to play out our skins and raise the level and try and put pressure on Hawick and see what happens. Hopefully that's what we're aiming for.
Well, you mentioned when's it last happened. I can tell you actually, October 2019, and it was Glasgow Hawks, and the week before that Marr murdered Hawick here. So there's a little bit of a something to hang your hat on as well. But you have experienced a win at Mansfield Park.
Yeah, we had a couple of years we did quite well. That's a long time ago now, and a number of personnel changes since then. So no, look, we know the task in front of us. A very strong Hawick side, strong as it's been for a long time. And as I said, I think on the offside line that Matty and his team have set the standards for the rest of us to get to this year especially. So to go through the season undefeated is a phenomenal effort, and all credit to them.
And of course you're, I suppose, 29 points behind Hawick at the moment, but it means nothing because the rules are the rules. You've got your position in here. It now becomes a one-off game.
It does. It is, and that's the thing about it. And that's whether that's right or wrong. A lot of people agree or disagree, but it does give us an exciting end to the season. And any one of the four sides could potentially win it. We're here to do the best we can, obviously do our best to try and still be in it to retain our title, but as I say, we'll have to match Hawick physically and their energy and their crowd, which I expect to be big here at Mansfield today. As I say, we've prepared well, and we'll give it our best shot.
Not a bad side, is it? Conor Bickerstaff and Scott Bickerstaff back together, and of course you haven't had that luxury really throughout the season, have you? One or two of them have been injured, but to see them back on the pitch again together is a real treat. You've got Gordy Reid as well, Colin Sturgeon, some big characters on your side.
Yeah, it's always when we've got Scott and Conor together, they're a threat, and I said the other senior players and Colin and Gordy. But again, every week we've had the same. I think, if I'm honest, we've 5 or 6 still unavailable. I think every game this year we've never actually played with our full team. Grant Baird was training with the Ayrshire Bulls and is injured and misses out today. He's a big player for us. But it gives an opportunity. Young Gregor Beckwith, so looking to the future for us, it gives us an opportunity to look at that as well. But it's a huge challenge. One we're looking forward to. One we hopefully believe we can overcome. But again, the 80 minutes on the pitch will determine that.
What's it been like at Marr in this last year, being Scottish champions, knowing where you came from? And you were sort of involved with Marr in the lower leagues, and we're talking about 6 or 7 divisions down, aren't we? We really are talking about a huge climb to the top, and then finally being crowned Scottish champions. I mean, fantastic for the club, and that must have brought in a lot of youngsters to say, look, we want to play for the Scottish champions.
Yes, I mean, in terms of, we've been building for a long time, and our mini and youth sections are very, very good, and we're trying to develop them even more. Very similar to Hawick now, in terms of Hawick, they've got a really good midi section and mini sections as well. So we've got something like 400 or 400 or 500 kids playing from mites up to under 18s, and our senior midi sides, our under 16s and 18s are improving and things like that. So yes, it has that, but again, on the other side of it, I think we struggled early on in the season with it. I think we kind of, I wouldn't say rest on our laurels, but we didn't really kick on how we should have done, and that in itself was difficult. But then when we got back into it and we got our players back and our senior players started, and that made a difference to get. I think we won last 6 of our last 8 games, which ultimately got us here.
And of course it's knockout rugby now. It's a different ball game completely. You won't be going for try bonuses necessarily because they mean nothing. It's all about one-off match and playing it a lot tighter than you would in a league situation.
Yes, and it is in that way, and who knows what it's going to be. It's a beautiful day here at Mansfield, so we like to play, and so how it goes, whereas at the end of the day you just need to be 1 point better than the other side, and in this sort of competition. So I think hopefully, as I say, we'll keep it tight, get a lot of pressure onto Hawick, and see where that takes us, so that we can try and nullify the crowd and everything else. But hey, I've been here as a player and as a coach, and I mean, it's a tough place to be.
Absolutely. And one question I have to ask you, are you going to still be at Marr next year?
Oh yes, we're already a long way forward in terms of our plans for next year.
Brilliant.
In terms of that, so we're building a squad in a way to hopefully that'll improve again next year. We've got a lot of things we need to work on. The coaching team are still going to be there, so that's the aim. That will be my 15th season. So
wow, that's incredible.
And so there's a lot of I like a lot of symmetry in my life in that way, so we'll see what happens after that.
Well, you're like a big soft cuddly teddy bear, aren't you? You and Marr just go together. I can't imagine Marr without Craig Redpath. Great to see you again, and the best of luck today.
Thanks very much, Stuart. All the best.
Always good to meet up with Craig Redpath there, the head coach of Marr, and before that it was Matty Douglas from Hawick. Of course, a big challenge for both these teams today. The prize is play-off final place in the Premiership final, and that of course is happening next week. If Hawick win, then it will be back here. If whoever wins between the Currie and Edinburgh Accies game, which is happening simultaneously today at Mansfield Park, whoever wins that game will get the home final, if of course Marr beat Hawick today. Hope you're following all that. Let's bring in Robin Purdie. He'll be commentating along with Graeme Dodds on this game at 3 o'clock, and let's address the big elephant in the room. In fact, it's on the pitch, isn't it? It's an absolutely massive elephant, and it says that how can a team 29 points behind, losing 8 games in a season, can become Scottish champions?
Yes, this really is your favourite topic of conversation when it gets to this time of year, no doubt about that. But no, you're right. I think it's a love it or hate it situation. Hawick have not been recognised in any way in terms of prizes for going undefeated through the regular league campaign, but the teams know what they sign up for at the start of the season, and this is knockout rugby and anything can happen. And I was in your camp firmly, as you know, but I'm more coming around to the idea of these playoffs now. I just think there's been less dead rubbers towards the business end of the season than there might have been. But yeah, the players know, the coaches know what it's all about at the start of the season, and I think it makes for what is sure to be a good occasion in front of a big crowd today.
Now, of course, your opinion and Dale, very, very similar. You think playoffs are good, and there are benefits, there's no question about that. I mean, certainly for the 4 top teams, they get 1 extra match, which means extra revenue for the club. But I think the whole question is it right? Is it the right thing to be happening at the top level of Scottish club rugby, where a team can come from literally off the pace by a mile and still become Scottish champions?
Yeah, I think there's a strong argument there to say no, it's not fair. As I mentioned before, Hawick have gone unbeaten. They've won 17 out of 18 games this season. I personally, until they come up with something different, if they do indeed come up with something different, I'd like to at the very least see the same as what they have in Super League, Rugby League, that being a league leader shield, so Hawick at least, or whoever finishes top of the regular season pile at least, are recognised in some regard. But yeah, there's excitement around today here at Mansfield, and that is because it's knockout rugby. So there's arguments for it from both sides, absolutely.
But I think I have a solution.
I believe you do have a solution, yes.
I'll bring Graeme Dodds in here as well. What if, at the end of the Premiership, your 18 games, you crown the champions of Scotland because they've done it? It's a league, they've got something tangible to show for it. The 2 big points I think that these clubs are talking about, they're talking about having extra games and extra revenue. They're talking about keeping interest going throughout the whole season. And to do that, obviously, you've got to give them something to aim for. Now, what if you had the 10-team league, number 10 is relegated, number 9 is a play-off against the second from the down below, which is what they used to do, of course, and then the 1 to 8 go into a cup competition, the Premiership Cup, if you like. First plays 8, second plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5, and you do that across all the leagues. Nationals, you have a National 1 Cup, you have a National 2 Cup, a National 3 Cup. So effectively, those 10 teams in those divisions all have a chance of getting to BT Murrayfield at the end of it, have 5 cup ties, increase the revenue stream for everyone, it means there's no dead rubbers at all, because everyone is trying to get the best position they can to be seeded in the cup competition, which could happen probably, in March or whatever. That's the proposal. What do you reckon about it, Graeme?
And would that supersede the normal cup competition that is just now?
Yeah.
So just scrap that. Yeah, I mean, that's probably quite a good idea. The only thing I would say about that is, some of these junior teams would love a shot at a Hawick or a Marr even.
Are those cup days kind of gone?
I think they probably are, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, I was still playing when the format changed, so I've played in actually both, and I remember these conversations around this at the time, and it was, as a player, exactly what Robin touched on before. You win that league campaign. You've slugged your guts out. You've gone to training 3 times a week, and you've won the league. And potentially you don't win. You don't get that crowned as champions at the end of the season, which for a player is tough, and a coaching staff and a club. Worst case scenario today, Hawick lose the game. And as you say, Marr have lost 8 games this season, potential to go on and win the championship. I kind of sit on the fence a little bit, because I agree with Robin. The Premiership clubs all signed up to at the start. They went in with their eyes open, although they probably didn't get a lot of choice. We did actually have a choice when the format changed. All the Premiership clubs were consulted at the time, and this is what was agreed unanimously, that the play-off situation was going to come into place. I like your idea of the cup. That's a good idea, because then you've still got a league champion, but then you've won the league. You can still go and win a cup double as well, but then it gives other teams a chance, and as you say, there's still a revenue stream there for extra games in the season. But it certainly sounds an interesting kind of prospect. I mean, can you see this coming to the table, Robin?
I think it's a really good idea, Stuart. I really do. And if the cup format towards the end of the season replaces what we've currently got in terms of the cup, I think that's probably a good thing as well, to be honest, because in all reality, the 4 teams that make up the playoffs here are realistically the only 4 teams that can win the cup, barring something really bizarre happening. So for there to be more opportunity for other teams to win respective cups in their own divisions, then I think that can only be a good thing. As you say, a finals day, getting back to a finals day at Murrayfield, whether it's at Murrayfield, whether it's at the Dam Health, who knows? But 5 trophies on the line in one day sounds like a good idea to me.
And we've got the situation at the moment where National 2 and National 3 teams don't actually get to play in a cup competition, and that means that Berwick, for instance, cannot even defend their Shield title, which they won before COVID. They've actually had it in the trophy cabinet a long time, but they've not been able to do it. And this way it brings National 1 and National 2 clubs into some kind of proper club cup competition. And of course, there's a lot of teams who will think, well, we haven't really got a chance of, getting to Murrayfield. But if you've only got like 9 other clubs who are standing in your way, that certainly focuses the mind, I think. Yeah, I would agree. It's actually, have you taken that formally to the SRU? Or? I will be talking to Colin Rigby this week. I mean, I think I can't really see many negatives for that. Well, it ticks all the boxes that people were talking about. And I think likes of, for example, this season when Hawick have had such a strong season, and it takes that element of doubt, going through it. They obviously this is a massive game. It's a cup final for them. Well, it's obviously a semi-final, but it's a cup final because you lose, you're gone. So it's the same difference. But for that to be, in position where it goes into a cup, 8 teams go straight in that quarter final, I think that's a good idea. Great. Okay, so we've got approval there. We'll move that forward if we can, and try and please all the people all the time if we can. Well, after the break, we're going to be taking a look at all the other Borders teams, because they're going to be playing this afternoon as well.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hi, Nicky Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available, featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 years on, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features, including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, The Complete Borders Railway, is available now.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com for when the heavens open.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner Evie's Baton Journey is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available on the official Facebook page, which you can visit from bordersrugby.net. Evie's having a ball, March the 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
So just over half an hour away from kick-off in today's big match in the Premiership semi-final between Hawick and Marr. Full commentary coming up at 3 o'clock. But yesterday I sat down with Dale Clancy, who's on his hauls at the moment. He's probably listening in the Lake District somewhere. I hope you're enjoying it. But Dale met up with me yesterday to go over the other games involving Borders teams. And let's start with the National 1 game between Watsonians and Kelso. Kelso, top of the table. Here's Kelso Director of Rugby, Neil Hinnigan.
We had a win over them at home, but it was one that was really tricky. It was one we won 31-15, but it was a tricky match, and Watsonians were quite impressive that day, and they play a good brand of rugby, quite similar to Melrose. Got a good rolling maul and in their backside to go wide at every opportunity, so we know it's going to be a tricky one. Every week it is for us, and it's no different this week. We've got to get on the road and get the win if we want to keep progressing towards where we want to be. And yeah, it was a bruising encounter last week against Melrose, very tight match. So boys are certainly in a good place regarding momentum and things like that. A couple of changes to the starting lineup. Charlie Marshall and Alan Frame drop out in the front row and are replaced by Ewan Knox and Terry Logan. Both the other two take their place on the bench. Fergus Cummins drops off the bench and is replaced by Aaron Lunn. Apart from that, there is no changes to the squad, so fairly settled. And yeah, we've got to just get into our groove pretty quickly up there, try and get the job done, along with a lot of accuracy and work-ons from last week, because although it was a great win last week, there was loads of things we could work on from it. And yeah, this week we'll try and improve on that again, and if we do improve on that again, we'll hopefully have enough to get a result, but it certainly won't be an easy one.
Neil Hinnigan, Director of Rugby at Kelso, and interesting changing the props around from last week.
I think that those two players in particular, probably Charlie Marshall specifically, gave a lot in that game Saturday past. I thought there was a couple of loose handling errors that he had. That, you know, it might be a performance issue. It certainly wasn't for his engine and his endeavour, because his work rate on the pitch was phenomenal. He was always offering himself up to carry, and Alan Frame as well. You know, he's had a really good season. It looks like he's still got a spring in his step, but you know, they've got good personnel to come off in terms of, you know, replacing them with Knox and Logan, because they're players that could equally start as well. So, you know, it's a good problem for Kelso to have. They've got two players coming off the bench that can, you know, they don't impair the starting lineup. The good thing that I can see in there is the likes of Aaron Lunn getting a run out, a guy that used to play for Dodds. He took a bit of time out of rugby because of his career, and I know him from his time as an apprentice at Borders College, and you know, he was a player that when he moved to Kelso, eventually got to the club, and he's been nurtured well, and he's finding his opportunities in the first team. He's a player that potentially could have stepped away from rugby and now is on the cusp of potentially playing Premiership rugby next year. So, you know, that just highlights the good work that Kelso are doing just now, but it also, you know, illustrates the strength and depth that they have.
And a really good match last week, 18-15. I mean, it really went down to the wire, as we expected to do. So it was 2 points, I think, that Melrose won at the Green Yards, and 3 points at Poynter Park. Two teams who really have given a lot in this division this year.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting game. It was really quick starting. Melrose came out the blocks. It looked like it was going to be one of those games where it was, you know, Melrose would look to try and chuck everything at it, and Kelso would remain composed. It did for a while. Melrose went down the tunnel in the lead. In the second half, I do feel that there was probably some sloppiness from Melrose that did Kelso get on top of them, and then once they were on top of them, they showed their power up front. They suffocated Melrose with the ball, really. But there was a lot of times when Kelso were kicking downfield and using the wind that Melrose were doing some uncharacteristic errors. They were kind of playing into Kelso's hands, and towards the end of that game, they played into Kelso's hands, and Kelso showed the qualities of a team that have learnt. Once they got their fingers burnt against Gala, they've learnt not to do it again, and they controlled the game towards the end. And I think, in the balance of play, they were worthy victors, but there was certainly a lot of opportunities left out in the field for both teams.
Because it was interesting, the first 11 minutes, Melrose got their 2 tries. They didn't score tries after that. In fact, there was no scoring for 55 minutes in the middle, and then 10 minutes at the end, it was really, really tight. But it could have ended up a cricket score, but obviously both teams were making sure that their defensive work was up to speed.
Yeah, and I think it was an interesting game in the fact that you allude to the period of time where there was no score. But from a kind of rugby point of view, watching that, it was really interesting to see, how each team was trying to kind of test and probe each other. They were looking for the opportunities to get on top. They were just not given anything, and I feel it was that little change in tide when Kelso kicked a little bit more, and then there was the errors that allowed Kelso back in. So, it was like a kind of boxing match. They were jabbing each other for about 55 minutes until Kelso eventually did, they hit that knockout blow. They got that try. There was the interesting finale to the game with the 2 penalties as well, the 2 quick-fire penalties that Melrose drew at level, and then Kelso went up the other end and got the penalty to win. So, it was the draw would have done neither team any favours. So Kelso, obviously get the win and continue at the top of the pile.
And it means effectively that Melrose are out of the equation. We're down to Ayr and Kelso. And interestingly enough, Kelso are at Marrside, which is a place that Ayr didn't enjoy going to. They won the match by 2 points, but they were down for a little while. And of course, they were playing against 14 men right at the start of the first half. Red card for Watsonians. Watsonians did well at Marrside, and they'll be looking to do the same because they're not out of the woods yet as far as relegation's concerned.
Yeah, there's still a lot of big games, obviously, with the kind of, I would say the reshuffle, but I think that's been quite polite in terms of the way that the leagues are going to be structured next year. But, there's still a lot of interesting games coming up for a lot of teams. So I do think the Watsonians game for Kelso a few weeks ago might have looked a little bit more daunting, but I think the performances have slightly dropped off from Watsonians. But that's not to say, like you've just mentioned there, like against a team who, are heavy favourites, that the gloves are off, because Neil Hinnigan mentioned it, they like to play a kind of similar brand to Melrose, and that is a brand of rugby that I feel can sometimes quite test Kelso because they've got that big, powerful pack. Sometimes if you do move them around a bit, it does take a little bit out their legs. So it's going to be an interesting contest, but one that you would imagine Kelso will get through, but they need to get through to make sure that they kind of keep the destiny in their own hands.
Ayr then will play Biggar at home in their last home game of the season before they travel to play Kelso Gala and then end with Stuart's Melville. Kelso after the weekend have got Ayr at home, then GHK and Highland away. Also in National 1, it's Melrose at home to Highland this weekend. Here's the thoughts of Melrose coach Bert Grigg.
So the first team welcome Highland down to the Green Yards on Saturday for El Plastico. The 2 teams that have got the 3G pitches in the league. Obviously coming off of that defeat against Kelso, which means that realistically we're out the running for the league. But look, as a group of players, coaches, management, we're still wanting to finish the league season on a high. We've got 4 games left in Highland, Gala, Stuart's Melville and Dundee, and we're certainly targeting wins in those games, and it's not just a case of down in tools in that, and that'll help best prep us for the sort of Border League final in the middle of there, and also the Scottish Cup. So still 6-15 games to go as a minimum, if not more, depending on that Scottish Cup result. So boys are still fighting the good fight, and wanting to make sure that we're prepped for these games at training. So a few changes this week. See a couple of changes in the pack. Angus Runciman misses out again this week due to injury, but Elliot Ruffin returns after having work on last week. So gives us a bit of mobility in that scrum, having Elliot back. In the back line, both wingers, unfortunately, Connor and Harry are both unavailable. So 2 new wingers coming in, and Robin Sharp and Hamish Weir makes his return after a bit of a lengthy injury layoff, and we're looking forward to having him back on the pitch and giving us a bit of X factor out on that wing. But look, we had a pretty tough game up at Highland back in November time. We're expecting much the same again this time. Obviously their away form's been a bit poor, but look, we know what they're going to bring. They're going to bring a bit of X factor with some of their players in their back line, and they're going to be pretty physical up front, especially their front five. So we've got to be prepped for what's coming and get a 5-point win on Saturday come the end of the game.
So as he says, Highland will certainly be happy to play on a 3G pitch, but they're not great travellers.
No, they're not, and it's one of those ones as well that Highland have, their season's almost away, especially with the result against Gala. There's a little bit of a gap there. They're kind of floating about in the middle, so they're almost in that little transition phase. But you could almost say that about Melrose, but they're kind of getting the hit out before the Border League final now, so they've still got something to play for in terms of a prize to get some silverware on their top table at the end of season dinner. So it's an interesting game, but you would imagine that Melrose will be wanting to try and bounce back from their close and narrow defeat against Highland. And Struan Hutchison did mention a few weeks ago they've not been playing well, they've not been performing, but they've been picking up wins. You could almost say the same against Kelso. They played well in phases, didn't really get the continuity for out 80 minutes, and they came off second best on this occasion. So they'll be wanting a reaction. But David Colvin did mention that at the end of the Kelso game, that they've had a chat, they get back down, they start focusing on this Border League final and try and get another one of them in the bag.
And of course Highland could still have a big part to play in who wins, because obviously if it does go to the last game of the season, which you think it probably will, it's Highland against Kelso, and Highland would certainly be up for that.
Yeah, and not to try and annoy the majority of the teams in National 1, I would say that you look at the fixtures that Kelso and Ayr have and the way that they've played this season, you could probably say that they're going to win all of those games, and you exclude the one Kelso versus Ayr at Poynter Park. So you would say whoever wins that game, if it's Kelso, they've got a really good cushion, and it might not go down in the last game. But if Ayr do get the win on that occasion, they'd be on the top of the league, or they potentially could be top of the league, and Kelso need to go to Highland on the last day of the season to get a win and hope the rest of the results go their way. So it is all coming down for me to that game at Poynter Park, but there are still a lot of tricky games in there. They've got difficult games. Even bigger at home this weekend for Ayr's a difficult game. But Highland as well, they've got to play Kelso, and they'll want nothing more than to beat Kelso up there and spoil their party. Teams love doing that. When a team is on the cusp of going into the Premiership or on the cusp of winning the league, it's just that added incentive for the opposition.
And as Bert said, not just the league games for them to go, but they've also got to prepare for the Border League final against Selkirk and that trip to Millennium Park to take on Currie in the Cup.
I think the Border League final is a big incentive for Melrose. I think it'll be a great game as well. Netherdale's a big pitch, and I think the two teams that are playing with Melrose and Selkirk, it gives you a National 1, a Prem team. It gives you a big pitch to try and they both like to play on, expansive rugby, but they've got the forwards that can mix it with each other. So I think it's almost like two styles of rugby which I think are quite replicated, Selkirk and Melrose. So they're aiming towards that, you would say, against Currie, depending on how the next couple of weeks go in terms of their celebrations. If they do manage to get into the final and win the Premiership, they might be eyeing up a double, they might be eyeing up a cup run. So that's a difficult game for Melrose to go into, because you would say there's a little bit of a gap in quality between the two sides now that Super 6 is there. But
certainly the Melrose Selkirk, it's a very attractive fixture, and it's an unlikely final, because on paper it would have been Hawick and Kelso in terms of who's at the top end of the league. Yeah, and I was thinking that earlier, never really alluded to it when we were building up for the Kelso game, but you think about that win at the Greenyards is the thing that's given Melrose their place in the Border League final. The difficult tie at the Gates, which was a great game in horrendous conditions as well. So they've had to work for those wins to get into the Border League final, and as have Selkirk, because that draw against Hawick in the opening game of the season has pretty much been what's put them in the Border League final as well. So that's an interesting game, and I've been really lucky over the last few years in terms of being involved in your stuff, Stuart, and helping commentate and cover games that I've become a Borders rugby fan, like more than being affiliated to a team.
And these games are the sort of games I love because I think they're two even teams. You would say Celtic probably marginal favourites, but there's little stories in there. Scott White against Melrose. You've got Head and Jackson who played for Melrose as well in there. You've got a lot of interesting little dynamics in that Border League final, which it's the oldest rugby union competition in the world. So those stories keep coming, and it's hopefully we get a big crowd at Gala.
Monday, the 20th of March for that one. We'll be coming live on that particular day. Surprising it's on a Monday, I suppose, but we'll take that.
Yeah, I think it just signals. I could actually go on for ages, so I'm going to try and keep it brief. But I think it does highlight the negligence from perhaps Scottish rugby and perhaps rugby spectators and clubs as well, as to the Border League's been a little bit of an afterthought. And when you get such a good final like that, and it's been kind of well managed this year, I think, in terms of there's not been a lot of fixture congestion, and we've got to the point where we actually have a Border League final, which is not going to impact anything else. I think the Monday night might be quite attractive, but we'll just have to wait and see. I hope they get a big crowd down there. It would be nice to see the stand at Netherdale packed, and hopefully it's a dry day, and we can be treated to a great rugby occasion.
And to be fair to the Border League as well, they did want it, I think, on the Friday night that Gala are now playing bigger on as well. So they looked at all the possibilities. I think there was a couple of Tuesdays and a Monday, and they've gone for the Monday. I think it'd be quite fun. I mean, there's not many games, I think, in the past 20 years that have been played on a Monday competitively.
Yeah, and it probably is more of a focus on the two clubs wanting to win silverware as opposed to making it a social occasion, because rugby is mostly a social occasion. So, Gala perhaps might miss out on a few beverages being sold over the bar, but, hopefully that, they can get a lot of youngsters down and try and inspire, and hopefully we can breathe a little bit of life back into the Border League, because as well, on top of that, it's a Monday night and it's getting covered on the radio. So it's going to be, getting some good coverage, and so the players on display are going to be, showcased and highlighted. So hopefully they can make a good occasion of it.
And full television highlights the next day as well, which is good, including the commentary. So that's a rarity that we haven't had for a wee while, but we'll definitely be doing it for that one. So plenty to look forward to then. Now, Andrew Fleming, of course, going back to what we said about 10 minutes ago, he'll be at the Green Yards for that game between Melrose and Highland. Also National 1, Gala are on the road at Bridgehaugh to face Stirling County, who are currently in a relegation position in third bottom. Now, a good win for Gala last weekend at home to bottom team Stuart's Melville, as you would expect, but I'd suggest that Stirling County will be really up for it. Just 3 games for them to play to escape relegation.
Yeah, and we've said in the weeks that have passed how difficult it, like the Melrose and Ayr found to go to Bridgehaugh, and Kelso went up there and they put in a really good performance. So it's probably one that Stirling will fancy. Gala are again going through that kind of transitional period, and obviously we've not got Ewan or Craig to give us a little bit of an insight into the squad, but I think the squad selection will be interesting to see how they're going to fare up there. But that again comes back to how interesting these leagues have been this season. The Premiership is now at the business end, but there's still a lot of games to go in terms of the shuffle in the leagues.
Some good matches for Gala still to be involved with. That game against Melrose, of course, which we'll be covering, and also covering the Gala versus Ayr match, which will be our feature commentary game in a couple of weeks' time. And that could have huge significance on the league. But as I mentioned, the Stirling County side, they're in a bit of a struggle with Watsonians and GHK to see who stays up from that league. You would expect that Aberdeen and Stu Mel have a mountain to climb to escape the drop, although both have a potential 25 points to play for, and we've seen how Musselburgh performed the great escape in their last few games in the Premiership. So anything possible there.
Yeah, and it's two big clubs as well, like Stuart's Melville and Aberdeen Grammar. They're two clubs that have been up towards the kind of pearly heights for a while in terms of club rugby, but Aberdeen especially, to go kind of back to back relegations kind of shows does it show a lack of appetite in the kind of Caledonian region for rugby at the moment? Does it show a lack of backing? I don't know. They sometimes it's they get some really good uni students going up in the area, and it does kind of supplement what they've got in the area. But it's not been over the last couple of years, and there's some good players in the Grammar squad as well that have stuck about and tried to. Tom Applin being one. He's a good player. They've tried to try and stop the rot, if you will, but it looks like it's going to be Stuart Melville and Aberdeen going down this season in one another.
And we've seen so many big clubs, haven't we, go down and, you know, basically free fall it all the way out the leagues. Murrayfield Wanderers, for instance, now plying their trade in National 3. We've had Hillhead, Jordan Hill, Livingston in the past as well. All are now playing regional rugby.
West of Scotland.
Howick.
You've got a lot of big clubs that are, you know, probably Falkirk. We were speaking about it off air last week, and you know they threw a lot of cash at players. Clubs can't sustain that now, and have realised they need to try and nurture their local talent and be community clubs again. So, you know, there's a lot of clubs have went, you know, down and playing regional rugby, and the one that stands out to me at the moment is Boroughmuir. You know, you know, Boroughmuir, in terms of the Boroughmuir Bears, when they're born, they look like they're a mid-table Super 6 team that, you know, on their day can put in a good performance, but, you know, at their worst can get beat by, you know, the likes of the Knights and the Wolves that didn't play too well last year. But yeah, the Boroughmuir club team look like they're definitely going to be going down, and you know it's a big ask to try and build that up again. And they even had 2 ex-Super 6 players playing on Saturday against Peebles. So, you know, even the players that are coming in are just not able to stop that rot. And, you know, they've got a kind of losing culture at the moment. And they're going to be another team that you can add to that list that we've just alluded to.
Well, interesting, you were mentioning Falkirk. I was in Inverness during the week and came back from the train, and on the left-hand side was the Falkirk rugby ground, and there it was proudly advertised, their game against Peebles. And Falkirk in second place at the moment. Peebles are in fourth. It's going to be an interesting match because Newton Stewart are top at the table at the moment, but only a couple of points in front. And of course, Falkirk have that game in hand. So it would be great to see Falkirk, who, as you said, went down, have now recruited using a lot of Falkirk players and are going back up in the right direction again. So that's going to be a cracker. Falkirk against Peebles. And here's head coach of Peebles talking about it, Ian Chisholm.
There's a lot for us to play for this weekend up at Falkirk. It's probably our most significant game of the season, where if we come away with a result, we give ourselves an opportunity depending on other results elsewhere, and it's a small chance, but at least it's a chance, and it gives us a wee bit of hope there. And but if we don't come away with a result, then look, we can focus on we can focus on performance and the style of play that we want to play, and look at a few things we're trying to implement next season and try them now without consequence, without fear. We obviously want to win all of our remaining games. And look, Falkirk are a good side, so like Stevie Leck is a good coach, and you know, last time out when they came down to the Gates, we gave them a 21-point lead and we never really got going. And then come that second half, we started playing, and this was the match that Andrew Brown was banned in, and that was quite an important play that when the referee blew up as well. We went 21-0 down, I think it was, but we still gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game, and we probably should have won that game there. We go back to us, you know, giving away 20+ penalties in too many games, and that was a game that we did that. There was a lot there where we were inaccurate, and look, it's one of the few games this season where our scrums actually went backwards. So look, we feel we're a better side now. We feel we've got a bit of momentum, and we're on a good run of games, and we're getting things right tactically. So we're excited going up this weekend, and we believe that we can get a result. And look, we do have some changes in the squad. So Rob Harrison, he is away to Turkey. I think he's getting his teeth fitted actually. So he goes for a straight swap with Jack Harrison, his brother, who just slots into 12 there. And Jack will probably give us a bit more width and distribute a bit more than his brother. But look, Rob's a really solid defender. He's a really solid attacker, and I really love him as a centre, but he is a back row. So we'll probably get a bit more width with Jack in there, and I drop out of the squad. So Buster Davidson comes into the starting spot with Robin Smith coming onto the bench. So look, the squad as it goes is Neil Hogarth, John Napier and Willie Aitken. Kenny Clyde and Jay Coltman make up the second rows. In the back row we've got Kami Pai at 6, Murdo Anderson returns to the squad at 7, and Finlay Collins at 8. Finlay Sinclair's he's still out. He took a concussion in that Glasgow Accies game, so he's still out for a wee while. He's still experiencing symptoms, so we're not gonna go near him for a little while. Caleb McKeever, he's been a warrior for us. He keeps his place at 9 with Donald Anderson at 10. On the wings, Neil Pate, Buster Davidson, with Scott Stoddart moving to fullback, and in the centres, Jack Harrison and James Dow. Dowsey's been really solid for us this season, but he hasn't played an awful lot of centre, and I think we have found his position. I love how late he moves at the line. I love how clever a defender he is, and he's just an outstanding support player as well. He always seems to be in a position for an offload or a clear out or a lift off the ground. On the bench, John Gray and Lewis Copeland, they're a front row cover there. With Sean Brotherston dropping out the first team squad, so all three of them drop out the first team squad. With Robin Smith, who's played really well against Melrose, played really well against Glasgow Accies. He missed out last week, so he'll be looking to make an impact off the bench. We're really hopeful that we can keep a bit of excitement and keep a bit of momentum going for us, that we come away for Falkirk with 4 or 5 points.
As fluent as ever there, and he's dropped himself this week.
Yeah, after a hat-trick as well. He was the self-proclaimed...
Not good enough.
No, 4th best fullback at People's Rugby Club after Donald, Scott Stoddart and Jim Curry. So I think he was... it was good to see him reshuffling. But I know players coming in there like Buster Davidson. I thought Scott Stoddart against Melrose a few weeks ago was really good. The way that he was, especially in the second half, he was coming at the line really, with a lot of pace and giving Melrose some trouble. But especially the dropout of Robert Harrison, not just the dropout from the squad, but the dropout of his front tooth as well, that he lost in the club rooms on Saturday night. So, that's just the trials and tribulations you get in National 2 rugby. But it's good. Again, you look at the way Ian Chisholm speaks about the People's squad, the way that they've got themselves, they hit a little bit of a rut midway through the season, and they've been able to kind of galvanise themselves again, and the rotation of that front row as well. Willie Aitken and Neil Hogarth coming back in at the starting lineup, and the likes of Copeland and Napier, they get a rest, and John Gray as well. They've all played well in the front row, so they've got a bit of strength and depth there now, and some good young players coming through. So the likes of McKeever and Collins and Sinclair have played well for Peebles this year. So it's a bit perhaps too ambitious to think that they can get promotion this year, but they can certainly have a big say in terms of who goes up and look to build for next year.
They do have this chance. This is probably their last chance saloon, isn't it, to get back in the mix again? I mean, you've got Newton Stewart, played 18, 67 points. They should be strong enough to beat Preston Lodge this weekend. Falkirk, though, I mean, if Peebles beat Falkirk and take points off them, all of a sudden Peebles could get 61 points, keeps Falkirk on 65. Glasgow Accies have a tough one. They're at home to Kirkcaldy. Kirkcaldy on their day with 2 games in hand could do the business as well. And, all of a sudden you've got Falkirk on 65, Glasgow Accies 63 and Peebles 61 with 4 games to go.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about those teams like Peebles, Kirkcaldy, PL, Lasswade, Boroughmuir, Hamilton, Falkirk. They're all huge teams, and it's an exciting league, and I think it's probably going to make the 10-team leagues that much more interesting, because I feel like there's not going to be too many weak games. There maybe be one or two, as there always is in amateur rugby, but you look there at the bottom of that league, the likes of Boroughmuir, Cartha and Hamilton have almost been guaranteed 5-pointers for most teams. So still a lot of rugby to play in that division, but I know you're wanting Falkirk to get the win and potentially get promotion, but I can't bet against Peebles.
Of course, we must mention Berwick as well, sitting in 5th place at the moment. And of course, between 5th and 9th, there's only 5 points separating them. But Berwick lost away last weekend, but are back at home where they do play well. Here's one of the Berwick coaches, Paul Pringle.
So this week we'll welcome Dumfries to Scremerston in what is a must-win game for us. They're right in the mix in the 5 that are vying for the survival, so we really need to get a home win, which is definitely achievable. We've seen what Dumfries are about earlier in the season. They are a good team, but we're really expecting to put on a bit of a show at Scremerston and get the points which we need just to move us a little bit closer to safety. Last week was a really disappointing week for us. Away to Kirkcaldy, we felt like we were very much in the game. It was just key mistakes at key moments in the game and just sometimes poor execution by us, so left very, very frustrated. There's also, I suppose, there was a few issues around the interpretation of the breakdown. They were probably just a little bit more streetwise than us. And on the back of that, just to compound the issue we also had, we lost Duncan Hardy at a breakdown to an ankle injury, and in all likelihood that's probably the end of Duncan's season. So on the back of that, we've been fortunate enough to bring back Ben Nicholson. He's moved up from the second, so he's actually coming in at fullback, and Rory Hindhoff is moving into centre just to shore things up there. Very fortunate that Nathan Melrose is back from holiday, so Nathan will move back into the front row. He offers us a a wealth of experience, and he's a very strong ball carrier for us and a steady player around the park. So it's great to have him back. Ryan Wilson will move back into the back row where he's been so effective earlier in the season, which is great for him. We've also got Ekor moving up from the twos, who just adds a bit of strength and a bit of dominance around the park. So all in all, the pack are looking really strong this week, and we've got Carl Gullen, Stuart Farnaby and James Grieve all on the bench who can make big impacts when they come on. The backs therefore are largely unchanged apart from the Ben Nicholson move, which we talked about earlier. And really we're just going into the game, looking to put on a good performance, get the points in the bag. That's what it's all about at this stage of the season. The lads have worked extremely hard in training on Tuesday night. Colin's really put them through their paces. So we would expect to see the outcome of that on Saturday. It's also ex-Players Day at the Berwick Rugby Club, so if the lads need any more encouragement, there's 120 ex-players who surely give them a little bit of advice and a spur on to get the result. But yeah, Saturday can't come quick enough for us, and hopefully we get the right result.
Berwick coach Paul Pringle with some comments on his team's game at home to Dumfries this afternoon. Well, let's meet up with our reporter Hugh Brown, who's down at Marrside this afternoon watching Watsonians against Kelso, a big game for the table toppers in the capital. What's the latest team news, Hugh?
Well, Stuart, the good news is that Kelso have named the same team that narrowly defeated Melrose, led by captain Frankie Robson. Now, as well as the league points today, the teams are playing for the inaugural Clive Miller Cup. The former flanker, who sadly died in November from cancer, played for both teams. During his career, he captained Kelso when they won the Division 2 Championship in 1992 and also scored the winning try for Kelso at the 1989 Melrose Sevens against Ayr. So this new trophy is a fitting tribute to the man who played a total of 160 times for the Poynter Park side. This afternoon, Kelso will be keen to cement their position at the top of the table, while the home side will be determined to win to stay out of the relegation zone. When they met in November, Kelso ran out winners by 31 points to 15. I think today could be a lot closer. Here at Marrside, it's a fine afternoon for Watsonians against Kelso. Kick-off at 3 o'clock.
Well, also in National 1 this afternoon, Melrose hosting Highland. Watching this one for us today at the Green Yards is Andrew Fleming.
Yes, welcome to the Green Yards for Melrose's penultimate home fixture of the National 1 season as they welcome Highland. The hosts will be looking to bounce back from the last week's narrow defeat at league leaders Kelso, while the visitors come into the match on the back of a 35-10 win over Stirling County. Highland have struggled on the road this season, but today's 3G pitch will suit them, having won 8 of their 9 home matches on the plastic surface. That sole loss, a 36-30 defeat to today's opponents. Melrose head coach Bert Grigg makes 4 changes in the pack, with Will Owen, Gregor Lindsay, Elliot Ruthven and Kit Buchan coming into the starting line-up, while in the backs, the only change sees Hamish Weir come in for Connor Spence. Hamish's younger brother Angus is set to make his Melrose debut off the bench, meaning all 3 of Doddie's sons will have represented the first 15 for the club that meant so much to the late Scotland and Lions legend. It's Melrose versus Highland. Kick-off here is at 3 p.m, and I'll bring you updates throughout the afternoon on Borders Rugby Radio.
More from Andrew later on in the programme, but with kick-off only a few moments away, it's time to hand over to our commentary team live at Mansfield Park in Hawick for the Premiership semi-final play-off game between Hawick and Marr. We have former Melrose and Scotland Sevens and Scotland Club International player Graeme Dodds providing expert analysis for us. But first, it's a very good afternoon to Robin Purdie.
Thank you, Stuart. So whether you love it or loathe it, this is playoff rugby. No prizes handed out at the end of the regular league season, even to those who went the full 18 games unbeaten. Hawick, of course, finished top of the pile with a seriously impressive 17 wins and a draw, whereas Marr come into this one with 10 wins and 8 losses. However, 5 wins from the last 6 games seen them over the line and into the playoffs, so there is form to speak of despite the 29-point gap between the teams. Looking at the lineups for Hawick, Kirk Ford's at fullback with Ronan McKean and young Charlie Welsh on the wings. Ethan Riley continues his partnership with Andrew Mitchell in the centres. Kyle Brunton's at 10 and Hector Patterson's the scrum half. Up front there's a formidable looking front row in Sean Muir, Fraser Rennick and Nicky Little. Dalton Redpath and Connor Sutherland are in the middle row with Stuart Graham, Callum Rennick and Jay Linton at 6, 7 and 8. Margot with Callum Ingalls at fullback. The wingers are Jake Jacobson and Jack Scott, and the hugely experienced Bickerstaff brothers make up the midfield. Colin Sturgeon's at 10 and Gregor Beckwith starts at 9. Gordy Reid, Scott Cleland and Craig Miller form the front row with David, Andrew and Callum Folan sitting just behind them, with Fraser Grant, Blair Jardine and Ben Johnson the breakaway trio. Sam O'Neill's today's man in the middle, and he will be assisted by David Chang Lang and Digby Thomas on the touchlines. Alongside me, as Stuart says, is a man that knows a thing or two about pressure games at this level, with over 300 appearances for Melrose and 6 semi-final wins to his name. It's good afternoon to Graeme Dodds. So, Graeme, Hawick unbeaten here at Mansfield since October 2019 and are unbeaten here, unbeaten this season full stop. Can you see anything to suggest that Marr can cause an upset here today?
Well, I hope not for Hawick's sake. Good afternoon, Robin. But it's playoff rugby, as we've talked about, so it is a one-off game. They have to have the right frame of mind for this game, and I know the experience they've got in the coaching staff and the squad throughout. They'll be tuned in for this and know exactly what's at stake this afternoon.
Marr, of course, are the Scottish champions, picking up their only title last year, while Hawick have been official champions 12 times and unofficial champions a further 12 times, but no league title since 2022. Can the current vintage withstand the pressure and bring the glory days back to this famous old ground? We'll know a bit more about that come 5 o'clock. It's a grand old day here in Hawick today, given that it's early March. The weather conditions are great for a bit of running rugby. No wind to speak of, no rain, not particularly cold. And Graeme, there's a big crowd here.
Huge crowd, and it's great to see. I was speaking to Neil there before, the ex-president, and he was just saying that there were 150 in for the lunch before. They had John Jeffrey speaking at it, and they've all just come out the bar there to join us in the stand. And it's a real buzz about the place this afternoon, which is hopefully we can push Hawick on. Yeah,
and I believe there's a bus or two over from Marr as well. And Graeme, is it a different type of rugby today? There's no need for a try bonus. Will there be more penalty kicks at goal, or do the teams just say, right, let's go for it and get out of sight of the opposition?
I think Hawick need to really do what they've been doing all season. They've had massive success. They've had one draw and they've won 17 games, home and away. So if they just focus on doing the same as what they've done the whole season, I think that'll be the focus for them this week. Don't change anything, play our own game, and we should have enough to beat this Marr team.
So the Tennent's Premiership semi-final is underway here. It's Marr to kick off through Colin Sturgeon. Marr attacking the bar end here, if you like, at Mansfield Park. Hawick attacking the YM club, and it was taken in by the ever impressive Jay Linton. He with the first carry. Hector Patterson now right on the Hawick 22. He puts in the box kick. It's going to be fielded here by Marr, and that's solidly taken in by the Marr player, but he runs into the meaty figure of Hawick hooker Fraser Rennick, who's been a revelation since coming back from Southern Knights this season. Speaking of hookers, Scott Cleland trucks it up from Marr, but he's hit hard now. Marr just on the halfway line here. The first touch of the day for Scott Bickerstaff, the ex-Scotland Sevens man. He makes a metre or two. Marr maintaining possession. Gregor Beck with the scrum half today in the absence of Grant Baird, which his absence is a blow for Marr, there's no doubt about that. One of the more experienced campaigners, and that looks like a forward pass, and it drifts into touch on the far side. And Graeme, not much territory made by Marr there despite a wee bit of possession.
No, definitely not. That's great defence from Hawick. The double tackles that they've obviously been working on at training, and I would say 6-7 phases, and they've gone back a good 30 yards. So great start for the defence for Hawick.
Yeah, Hawick's season very much been built on defence. They've conceded a mere 226 points in 18 league games. To give context, Selkirk are the second tightest team in the league on 357, and that's a remarkable stat, Graeme.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see what the defenders have got through their team as well. They've got that formidable front row we've talked about with that huge experience there, and when you look at Dalton Redpath and these guys in the pack as well. But I was really impressed at how the link between forwards and backs, they were all coming up together in that solid line and putting these double shots in and knocking them back every time.
Yeah, it's going to be the first scrum of the afternoon, right on halfway over on the far side. There's a few spectators on the banking on that far side, it has to be said, and it's going to be young Hector Patterson, Scotland under-18s this season. He will feed this first scrum. The referee brings them together. The first introduction of the two front rows, and it's gone down. Hopefully that won't be a shape of things to come, and it's going to be reset. And there's some experienced campaigners in the front row, Graeme.
Oh, there definitely is. Nicky Little, Spittle as he's better known, has been here a long time, and he had a few seasons over at Melrose as well, and I know him quite well. And bringing that experience back in, Sean Muir, we all know about Sean. He's over 200 games for the club, and obviously Fraz Rennick coming back in, and as you say, been an absolute revelation. Things didn't go quite to plan at the Knights for him, and he came back here, and he is certainly the best hooker in the league that I've seen this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they're not short of quality at hooker either. Hawick with Matty Carrier, the club captain, on the bench. He's got 3 tries to his name this season, and they've got Ross Graeme there as well, so they really do have formidable front row stocks here, and that's the first penalty. No, it's not. The referee's going to bring them back, but Hawick looked like they had a wee bit of ascendancy there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You've got Nicky Little there against Gordy Reid, and Gordy will know all the tricks and the trades in there in the front row, and that's the side that they're getting a bit of bother. You saw Nicky Little's elbow just hitting the deck there, so Gordy's obviously giving him a wee twist from the loose head side there, but I think we just want to make sure to get, for Hawick's thing, just get it solid and get it away and get them playing.
Yeah, last time I seen Marr was at Philip Hall against Selkirk a few weeks back, and it did look from our vantage point that Gordy Reid got in the heads of some of maybe the younger Selkirk players at least. I don't see there being much of a repeat of that today against this experienced Hawick outfit.
No, he'll try his best. I remember playing against Gordy when he was at Ayr before he went pro, and he was up to it then in his early 20s, so 13, 14 years on, it'll not have changed much.
Yeah, well, that Hawick scrum is marching forward, and now they go off the back. Now it's down the touchline. Jay Linton dummies. He had Hector Patterson on his outside, but he's going to set it up. Linton strong, second carry of the game for him rather, but it's been spilled forward by Connor Sutherland, playing in the second row today. So possession for Marr, deep inside their own 22. It's Connor Bickerstaff, dancing Bickerstaff. He's done well to make the space, but I'm not sure that chipping ahead was the right option. But the referee's going to bring them back. Not enough advantage, and first meaningful burst for Hawick.
Yeah, it's good play for Jay Linton down that blind side. He took the scrum, wheeled round the left hand side, and off he went. But he looked up from here, he probably could have maybe tried to slip the 2-on-1 into Hector Patterson, but still in good field position in that goal zone. And unfortunately for Connor Sutherland, he just spilled it going forward, but still good territory gain for Hawick.
Yeah, Jay Linton, second involvement of the game. First involvement, he caught the kick-off and sat a Marr player on his backside while rampaging, and the second time he makes fully 40 metres with the breenge. So, in my opinion, as good a player as there is in this division. Jay Linton back in the side now after a 4-week holiday absence. Of course, he missed much of last season with a really significant neck injury, so great to see him back in the fold as we have another scrum. Marr scrum, 5 metres inside their own 22. It's a more solid effort by Marr there. In fact, it's inching forward. It's moving it forward at faster speed now as first penalty of the day. The Marr faithful are happy with that, and that's 2 very contrasting scrums.
It's funny how you go from 3 minutes apart, and one scrum going forward for Hawick and one scrum going very much backward for Hawick, and that'll be a little bit of concern, for the Hawick front 5 there, because you look at their front row and middle row, that really shouldn't be happening. So that's just a wee bit lax of concentration, I think. Yeah,
that will certainly give them something to think about. If they thought they were going to steamroller this Marr scrum, then that evidently is not going to be the case, as the Marr penalty takes play up to their own 10 metre line. So it's going to be the first line out of the afternoon. Scott Cleland, the Marr hooker, played well in that game against Selkirk, and that's taken cleanly by Fraser Grant in the middle of that line out. So Marr attempting to roll this. It's been taken to ground though, and that's going to be a scrum to Hawick. So cheap possession coughed up by Marr there after a decent nudge down the touchline on the back of the penalty. So another scrum where these aforementioned front rows will be reacquainted. Got real depth in the front row on the bench, and one of the things you spoke about pre-game, Graeme, was the difference in experience between the two benches today.
Yeah, it's actually incredible. It's 448 appearances coming off the bench and 7 subs for Hawick, which is what an experience to rely on. And if it is tight after 60-65 minutes, when you can bring these guys on, as Matty talked about in the build-up, these guys are coming to finish the game. They're not just subs to make up the numbers. And I think if it is tight, that could be the difference.
Yeah, Rory McLeod on his 44th occasion in Hawick jersey is the least experienced, if you like, Hawick player on the bench. Lads came squirting back out the scrum though, and it's been knocked on. So a couple of messy scrums in reasonable positions for Hawick.
Yeah, I think it's just probably a little bit of nerves as well, getting settled into the game, and it's funny, the packs have to get used to referee early doors and scrums as well, and I think there's a little bit of that going on. So I think as we build into this first half, hopefully the scrums will become a bit tidier.
Yeah, Sam O'Neill, today's referee. He who will police those scrums with the able assistance of David Chang-Lang and Digby Thomas. Always feel a game flows better or works better when there's assistant referees.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed with the Melrose League this year and Kelso League that the having no ARs is very difficult, because it's really hard. It puts a lot of pressure on the man in the middle, and definitely having special experience like David Chang-Lang as an assistant referee makes a massive difference.
For sure. So Marr feed the scrum. Decent solid scrum again by Marr, halfway between their own 10 metre line and the halfway line, but it's been stolen by Hawick. But no, another scrum penalty to Marr, so possibly unforeseen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the last thing I expected, to be honest. 10 minutes in and looking at 2 scrum penalties for Marr. It'll be someone they'll just the Hawick boys will just have to get their heads together and get that sorted out quickly.
Hawick, of course, missing Daniel Sudden, and we talk about revelations coming back from Super 6. He's been another one. Him, Dalton Redpath, Andrew Mitchell, Fraser Rennick, the hooker, and that's a decent nudge down the touchline by Colin Sturgeon there. It's going to be a Marr line out now on the Hawick 22, so the first meaningful attacking position for the men from Troon in these well-known purple kits. They've done well over the years to come up through the ranks, and that's a line out towards the tail. It's been spilled, but it's came back on the Marr side. Marr have tidied that up now. They're maybe 15 metres outside the Hawick 22. Looking to truck it up here through the hooker. Cleland. Beckwith has had to go in looking for that, and he spilled it. Beckwith, he didn't get the best of protection, and nervy stuff on both sides.
Very nervy, spilled line out, ball girdling about at the back there. Fraser Rennick couldn't quite get on top of that, and then third phase on the Marr attack, and another spill of the ball, and you can see what Gordon Reid thinks of that, standing with his usual pose with his hands on his hips.
Yeah, it's blowing already, Gordon Reid, but you'd imagine he'll be there or thereabouts, still in the latter stages of this game. He might be wandering from scrum to scrum by that point, but an ex-pro like that, 49 games for Scotland, I believe. 41 rather. What does that do to those around him when a player of that ilk comes back into this level of rugby?
I think it'll just give him a little bit of a lift, and it's probably more so in games. You look at that experience and you kind of try and feed off that experience. I think, and especially in the front row, there is a lot of trades in there and little tricks he can do, and if he's feeding that on to the rest of his pack, and you can see how strong the scrum's been so far.
Better scrum by Hawick that time, and it's taken in by Jay Linton, but Jay Linton's hit hard by Blair Jardine, the impressive Marr open side flanker. Hawick looking to build it just outside their own 22 through the forwards as it stands. Patterson's at the base of this, and it looks like he's shaping to put it into the box. So Patterson does exactly that. The box kick goes up. It's got Fraser Rennick and Charlie Welsh chasing it. Now that's been returned by Marr, but it came off a Hawick hand. Patterson tried to keep it in, but it's gone into touch, and it's going to be a line out to Hawick just outside their own 22. I thought there was maybe a Hawick hand in there, Graeme.
I think David Chang-Lang must have thought it was on the line before the Hawick man touched it, so benefit of the doubt there, and Hawick have got the line out throw. But I think from a Hawick point of view, they just need to build into this game, get some possession. They've really not strung anything more than 2 or 3 phases together, and injury here for Gordon Reid. I think his contact lenses come out by the looks of it, but Hawick really, if I was in the Hawick forwards here, I'd just be pulling herself in, talking about these scrums and just talking about still 0-0 on the board. There's still 28 minutes of the first half left. Let's get our feet in this game.
Well, whilst Gordy's getting his lens put back in, a couple of latest scores for you in National 1. Melrose 3, Highland 0. That's a David Colvin penalty after 4 minutes. Watsonians 3, Kelso 0. A Heber penalty for them. Berwick trailing 0-5 to Dumfries, and it's Boroughmuir 7, Cartha Queen's Park 0.
Hawick line out. Fraser Rennick to throw in. 1 metre outside their own 22. First line out of the afternoon for Hawick. Goes to fairly safe to Dalton Redpath in the middle. Now the drive is on for Hawick. He's going to come back on the Hawick side. Patterson at the base. Sean Muir loitering with intent as well. But it's going to be Patterson. And again, Patterson puts boot to ball. And again, Charlie Welsh chases. Now, Charlie Welsh is competing for that, and he's knocked it back in field. Was he taken in there? Some of the Hawick crowd think that he was, and the referee, Sam O'Neill, agrees. Penalty to Hawick. I don't think there was any more in that, Graeme.
No, absolutely not. It's a good decision for the referee, actually. It's the Hawick crowd are obviously shouting for a yellow card, but I think there wasn't much maliciousness in it. Just a wee bit timing issue there, and good position for Hawick to pop out in the corner.
Yeah, Charlie Welsh, this young winger, on the occasion of his third appearance, 2 in the Premiership, his debut v Jed in the Cup, and for a youngster, Graeme, he's pretty well put together.
He's a big lad. I wouldn't like a winger to be that size running at me with a bit of speed in as well, but you could see there he was really committed to that ball and the speed to get there, and big physical lad. That's what you want for your wingers these days. Yeah, 2 big physical wingers for Hawick today. Ronan McKean, of course, on the other wing, and that Hawick line out has gone astray, so the basics letting Hawick down at the moment. There was a line out on the Marr 22, and Marr have come up with the ball. Now it's Bickerstaff, Connor Bickerstaff, out the back door to his brother Scott. Marr kick it down the field, not particularly far, not particularly great cricket. It's taken in by Kirkford now. Kirkford's got McKean down the far side, tries to use that power that we just spoke about, presents it well. McKean, Patterson looking for the on-rushing forwards. He finds Sean Muir, the ever-willing Sean Muir, always up for a carry. Patterson again. Brunton. Now they're going out the back, Hawick, and it's Andrew Mitchell, the powerhouse centre. Out the back door, now it's the young winger that we spoke about. It feeds back into Ethan Riley. Ethan Riley, has he got the support there? The Australian centre, Patterson. Penalty coming Hawick's way, playing with a free ball here. 6 metres from the Marr line. Trundled up by the forwards, taking it up the jumper stuff as they inch towards that line. Penalty still coming. Marr player drives over the ball. Patterson now to Callum Rennick. Callum Rennick has a dart, makes a metre or so. Riley in there with a clear out. Coming back for the penalty, and that's more like it. Superb play from the Hawick backs there, out the back twice, and that timing of the pass for Andrew Mitchell was superb. One little technical thing I've noticed, Robin, from the way Marr are defending these driving lineouts. I've obviously been watching how Hawick have been strong at that all season, and they're not committing to the first man, and then there's no offside line, so they're coming around the back and just chopping the boys. So Hawick will really need to be smart with that.
Yeah, they've obviously done their homework. Marr, as you say, Graeme, they'll be well briefed on how they can try to stop this Hawick juggernaut, the Green Machine. Knowing how to try and stop them is one thing, but whether or not they can do it will remain to be seen. So the penalty's been put to touch. It's a Hawick line out, 5 metres from the Marr line. Oh, it's been spilled again, but was there a Marr hand in there? No, spilled again by Hawick, and it was taken in by Fraser Grant, the Marr blindside flanker. Nearly 200 games for him. The carry by Blair Jardine, and it's Marr now. 10 metres from the Hawick 22, and the box kick was attempted. Again, fairly scruffy kick by Marr, and it's relieved the pressure to an extent, but Hawick still with the platform here.
Yeah, it must have come off a Hawick hand there at the side of the ruck, because I see
well noticed, yeah.
David Changleng's got his arm out for the Marr throw-in, but just really scrappy from both teams. There's nothing really been put together of any phases yet, and Hawick will be really disappointed. You get right in that gold zone 5 yards out and spill it from the line out. The hard work was done, and then spill a lot off the back of the line out. Yeah, and it was Marr's turn to almost make a mess of a line out, but they've somehow managed to regurgitate possession. It goes out to Bickerstaff, Connor to Scott in the centres, but he's well chopped there by the Hawick defence, Scott Bickerstaff, but Marr are maintaining possession just outside their own 22 now. Gregor back with the stand-in scrum half today. Marr camp deep still in their own half, but Connor Bickerstaff stabs that one down the field, and the bounce initially evades Kirkford. This standoff turned fullback. He's put his right foot through that, but that's been gathered in by Jack Scott, the winger, and he goes back to his fullback Callum Ingalls, and he puts a meaty punt downfield, but it's taken in by Brunton this time, and Brunton's seen space here. He's going for the 50-22 Brunton, but it's going to stay in field. It drifts up towards the Marr 5 metre line, and again it's Ingalls, the Marr fullback. He's not found touch, so Kirkford decides to run it back this time forward. No, he's seen a little bit of space, and he chips it forward, and he's taken out Ford. The referee's happy enough though. This partisan Hawick crowd thought otherwise. That's a good clearance kick by Marr. I beg your pardon, it's gone out on the full, so say the touch judge Digby Thomas, and that's a let-off for Hawick. It is a let-off for Hawick. It's aerial ping-pong going on there, and it's who's going to really take his game with the scruff of the neck at this stage, but it's interesting because when Marr are trying to get out their own half there, they've really nowhere to go. You know, Hawick are numbers up in defence because they're so well set. So Marr are forced into this kick every time, and you know, I think if they keep going like that, there's going to be, as the forwards get tired in the midfield, there will be spaces open up for the Hawick backs.
Yeah, Hawick line out. The set piece has been a wee bit of a mess so far, but that's been taken in cleanly by Sutherland at the back of that one. So here come the heavy artillery. That was Callum Rennick in the midfield, but a good hit on him. Here comes Stuart Graeme, highly experienced wing forward. Patterson again. Jay Linton, but Jay Linton's met hard once again by that man Blair Jardine. He's almost doing a man job on Linton at the moment. Now here come the Hawick forwards. Patient build up by Hawick. Another carry by Callum Rennick. Patterson once again at the base. This time he comes out to Riley. Riley's got Stuart Graeme again. Graeme with the footwork, cuts back inside, but he's met by two Marr defenders. But again, Patterson this time finds Fraser Rennick. Fraser Rennick's got a couple of his Hawick teammates for company, but pumps the legs, Fraser Rennick, and takes 5 or 6 metres. A couple of Marr players to drag him down. Now here comes Dalton Redpath, and again Patterson looking for the Burley forwards. Sean Muir that time. Patterson again. Nicky Little this time. The front row hungry for work. Out the back door to Brunton. Now here comes Jay Linton once again. Linton this time met by Connor Bickerstaff, but Hawick maintaining possession. They're 10 or so metres from the Marr line now. That looked high on Connor Sutherland. The referee doesn't agree, and it's been spilled forward. It was a really flat pass by Kyle Brunton, and Nicky Little had one eye on the player and one eye on the ball, and it's all Hawick, Graeme, possession and territory wise, but they're not looking overly dangerous at the moment.
No, I mean, I think it's just phases. If they need to build the phases, they were slowly beginning to break Marr down there. You know, if they just held the ball for another 3 or 4 phases, I think they would have got joy. So I think that'll be the message from the sidelines: is just keep the ball, keep at them. Eventually, you'll pull these Marr players in, and something has to be on. It's disappointing there, obviously, Nicky, as you say, head up a wee bit, looking in front of him. But you know, Hawick just need to keep possession, keep going through the phases, and it'll come.
So Marr scrum on the back of that knock on. Centre field, they're maybe 10 metres or so inside their own 22, where they've spent a fair old part of this game. Gregor Beckwith, 11th game for Marr this afternoon. As mentioned earlier, missing the highly experienced and hugely influential Grant Baird, who's been training the Ayrshire Bulls. But another scrum penalties conceded by Hawick, and they're starting to rack up.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a concern, you know, for Hawick, and obviously the game's still at 0-0, so there's no real concern on the scoreboard. But you know, that's 3 penalties for Marr at scrum time, and that's something Hawick will not have experienced this season so far.
Yet not having it all their own way. Hawick, Tennent's Premiership semi-final. The winners will play either Curry or Edinburgh Accies, who face off at Milani today, and I can see that one being a close one.
Yeah, I think so. You know, you just never know in these playoff games, and you know, an Edinburgh derby, and you know, obviously Curry winning won it 2 years ago, didn't they? You know, Curry have got a lot of experience there. Gregor Hunter there at standoff, and you know, you just never know what that'll go up there.
So the penalty was kicked to touch, and the line out was won by Marr, and one of the rampaging forwards takes it through the middle, but he's hauled down eventually by Fraser Rennick. Marr now with possession up towards halfway, going across the field. It's going to come back on the Marr side, and it's Beckwith to Craig Miller, out the back door to Sturgeon to Connor Bickerstaff. Here comes Gordy Reid. He fires it out to Jack Scott, the winger, not making too much ground. Marr still inside their own half. Reid it is this time that feeds it out. Blair Jardine been very impressive, but it's been spilled by Marr, and it's been hacked forward by Dalton Redpath, but it was knocked on in the event. So we're going to come back for a Marr scrum, but Hawick looking reasonably comfortable in defence there. There was a bit of a half break, but nothing more than that.
Just about to say that, Robin. They're so comfortable. They're so comfortable with each other, either side of them, and you can hear them talking from here. You know, the defensive setup is excellent, and Marr have really nowhere to go. You know, Hawick are just going across the field, and when they have to put the shot in, you know, they're putting good effective tackles in. But I actually disagree with Sam O'Neill there. I think that ball was basically knocked out of the tackle. I think it was play on for Dalton Redpath, but he's closer than I, so I better let him have of his decision.
Yeah, and he's ably assisted today, as we've already mentioned. But Dalton Redpath, always busy, seldom does anything less than 80 minutes, always there or thereabouts wherever the play is, loves to put himself about. Since he's come back from the Knights, it's a Marr scrum, 15 metres in from the stand side here at Mansfield. It remains Hawick 0, Marr 0, 16 minutes or so to run in this first half, and it's Scott Bickerstaff tries to find a little bit of space over his own 10 metre line up towards halfway. Now their number 8, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson makes a wee bit of ground here, and Marr are up into the Hawick half. Hawick in over that, it's been left intelligently so, and it comes back on the Marr side. Marr trying to run a move here. Bickerstaff finds Ingalls, and they're crabbing across the field a wee bit. Gordy Reid, it is in the outside channel. He finds Jack Scott, and the Hawick players are in over that, but it's came back on the Marr side. Illegally so, according to most of the stand here at Mansfield. Craig Miller, the prop, he's hit really hard by his opposite number, Sean Muir. But Marr maintaining possession, and it's Beckwith to Sturgeon. Sturgeon looks for runners. He's got one in the shape of ex-Melrose man Callum Follen, playing in the second row for Marr today. Beckwith again. Sturgeon again. Sturgeon with a football. There's another penalty coming for Marr here. It's gone forward, and there's a little bit of afters there, and they're all going to pile in, Graeme.
That's what I like to see, Robin. You know, that's this thing, the day of the past, but there's nothing wrong with what happened there. You know, Callum Rennick pulled the guy at the ground. There's nothing in it.
Yeah,
you know, and there's no need for this really.
It's still bubbling on. Stuart, Graeme,
the referee needs
all Scott Cleland, the hooker to the ground, and it all kicks off again. And it's often said, Graeme, that this is not the kind of thing that we like to see. This is exactly the kind of thing I like to see.
It's exactly what you want to see. You know, the passion's there for both sets of players. The referee and David Chang Langway's experience will sort this out in a couple of minutes. It's no problem, but it's exactly what it means to the players. And you know, there's nothing in it, and there was actually, I don't think, many punches thrown. I think it was just a bit of handbags, as we call it. But as you say, it shows the passion, and we're in a semi-final here. It means a lot to both these teams.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. It's tetchy. It's a quintessential semi-final. It's knockout rugby. It's all on the line, and there's going to be no quarter asked and none given. We're 25 minutes into this semi-final. It remains Hawick 0, Marr 0 here at Mansfield Park. A busy Mansfield Park this afternoon. I've got to say, both these clubs have marketed this game really well. Seen a lot this week on social media, and it's resulted in a big crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't miss it on social media, and it's great, especially for us being borderers. You know, it's great for the Borders again to have these big games back in the Borders. Great to see Hawick on their winning streak, and I just hope they can go on and finish it off for the players' sake more than anything. But it's as you say, it's the most that'll been at Mansfield for a long time, and it's great. It's great to see.
Yeah, 18 games unbeaten through the full calendar, Hawick. I think if they lose here today, the man to my left will self-combust. But it's going to be a penalty to Marr, and it's going to be Colin Sturgeon with the first attempt at the posts.
OK, let's tell you that Curry 7, Edinburgh Accies 0. It's a try for Cody McGovern after 18 minutes. So Curry, first blood to them in the other semi-final. In National 1, it's Aberdeen 3, GHK 7. Ayr 0, Biggar 10. 2 tries for Biggar. That's a bit of a surprise at the moment. Melrose 10, Highland 0. An Elliot Ruffin try, adding to David Colvin penalty. And Watsonian 3, Kelso 7.
So Colin Sturgeon here with the first attempt at the post of the afternoon. He and Kirk Ford are the two top marksmen in this division, and Sturgeon is just maybe to the right of centre field. He's bang on the 10 metre line, the Hawick 10 metre line that is, just about to begin his run up. A marksman of his quality, you'd fancy him from here, and he struck it reasonably well. Sturgeon, it dissects the uprights, and it is first blood here to Marr at Mansfield Park in this semi-final. It's Hawick 0, Marr 3, and that was a great strike.
Great strike from Mr. Sturgeon. He's a friend of my big brother's, actually. They were Hamilton chums back in the day, and good rugby player, and obviously been around as well. 163rd game for the club today, and I think Hawick just don't panic on that. You know, it's 3-0 to Marr, but there's no worries defensively. They're really sound. Marr have not shown any really signs of coming through them, so they just need to relax and get back into their game.
Yeah, Hawick won't want to give him too many opportunities on. That's a good kick-off by Kirkford, and a great chase again by Charlie Welsh. He's been really hungry for work this afternoon. He clattered into the Marr player and pulled him down inside the Marr 22, but Marr take possession. Craig Miller, this effervescent prop, he's played every minute of every game this season, Craig Miller, which is almost unheard of in this day and age. He sets it up, and it's been put to the touchline by Beckwith, so it's going to be a Hawick line out, 10 metres outside the Marr 22, and Hawick will be looking to strike next and give their fans something to cheer about.
They'll definitely want someone before half time, Robin. 11 and a half minutes to go until half time, and they certainly need something out this first half, because it's really been, territory wise, it's been all Hawick, and they'll not want to come away with nothing. But you can see Marr there, they were quite happy to get the ball off the field again. They're just going to work away quietly. They're not going to try any heroics at this stage of the game.
So Rennick again finds Redpath in the middle of that line out, and now the traditional Hawick maul picks up a bit ahead of steam here, and there's been a player hauled down and the referee's arm comes out. So again, Hawick playing with a failed free ball here. Riley out the back door to Brunton. Brunton's got Charlie Welsh coming at pace, still with the advantage, Hawick, and that's another little half break there by Rennick, Callum Rennick. Patterson again finds the other Rennick, Fraser. He takes another metre towards this Marr line. Now it's Sean Muir with the carry. He's supported by a Hawick player, so it's going to come back on the Hawick side, and it's a meaty collision there between Dalton Redpath and Craig Miller. Now again Hawick, here comes Ethan Riley. What an acquisition he's been, the Australian centre. He's really added to the Hawick cause this season. And again Callum Rennick hits it up here, and again he makes a little bit of territory. Rennick, here it comes once again to Brunton. Brunton's got Fraser Rennick coming at 100 miles an hour. Now they're inside the 5, coming round the corner. That looks like Sean Muir in the shadow, very much in the shadow of the Marr post here. Hawick, has it been held up? Yes, it has been held up, and that'll be a drop out from under their own sticks, and yeah, another chance goes a begging.
They must go back for the penalty. There's not been any real advantage there. 3 phases after the penalty. The second penalty, the first penalty, so Gordon Reid collapsing, which should really been a yellow card. It was cynical. Then he went over as a ruck infringement in the middle of the field. 3 phases later, has gone for the penalty.
Yeah,
Robin, it's not quite so bad.
He's come back, Sam O'Neill, for it. There was a wee bit of advantage played there. It didn't culminate in anything, of course, but I agree with you, Graeme. I thought that was ultra cynical by Reid, and I think he's lucky not to be in the cooler for that one.
I think he is lucky that there was about 6 or 7 phases after it. If Hawick had spilled it straight away, you could see it from here. He just flipped the man in the middle of the ruck.
All right, into National 2, let's bring you up to date there. Berwick 3, Dumfries 10. A couple of tries for Dumfries, a penalty for Jack Webster. Boroughmuir 21, Cartha Queen's Park 0. A big result for them at the moment. Falkirk 28, Peebles 0. And already a bonus point for Falkirk there, so Peebles imploding up there at the moment at Beveridge Park. Lasswade 14, Hamilton 12 is a latest score. And in the semi-junior decider, which is happening at the Gates at the moment, it's Peebles Colts 14, Morpeth Colts 17. A winner takes all in that particular match.
And Hawick have taken the resulting penalty and stuck it in the corner rather than an attempt at the post. So line out to Hawick on the Marr 5 metre line, really looking to build pressure here, Hawick, but this time of course they'll be looking to come away with something to show for it. Rennick to throw in, taken in cleanly at the tail by Jay Linton. Now it's to the back of this maul. Fraser Rennick directing traffic at the back as it inches forward. There's Marr players round there, but the referee's arm's not come out yet. Now has that been stolen by the Marr player? Marr have got hand in, but no, the referee deems that to be illegal, so there's another penalty coming Hawick way. Yet another free ball from which to play. Comes out to Patterson this time. Patterson to Nicky Little. Chop tackle on Nicky Little, stops him in his tracks, but it's again going to come back on the Hawick side. Patterson, this time out to Riley. Riley with a bit of footwork. Riley towards the line. Stopped 2 metres short. Patterson goes fishing. They liked it quicker than that, but here it comes. It's put out by Muir this time, and there's a man over from Hawick, but Callum Rennick heads towards the line. He's hauled down just short. Hawick in the absolute ascendance here. It goes out to the Hawick winger, Ronan McKean, and McKean is over for the first try of the afternoon, and the crowd here are in raptures.
Good score from Hawick there, and just that patience to hold on to the ball, and it was always on there on the left hand side. If Callum Reddick probably could have given it the 3-on-1 on the phase before, but all credit to him, and a great scrum half pass from the loose head prop Sean Moore to put McKeenan in the corner. Just patience. We talked about it 10 minutes ago. Hawick need to be patient and keep the ball, and they've done that. No mistakes. Try.
And it's no less than they deserve on the balance of territory and possession, that's for sure. Ronan McKean, this big burly winger, does a bit of sprinting in the Border Summer Circuit as well. 9th try of the season to match his tally from last season, and that takes Hawick into the lead, and he was right over in that far corner, and he's done reasonably well to bring it maybe 10 metres infield to give an easier kick to Kirkford, the top point scorer with a boot in the Premiership this season. He's not the top point scorer. That accolade currently falls to Colin Sturgeon, but he's the top point scorer with a boot. So Kirkford begins his run up. Struck it well enough. Ford picks up the tee, but no, he's pushed that to the right. So it remains Hawick 5, Marr 0. Hawick 5, Marr 3, I beg your pardon. 7 or maybe 6 minutes remaining in what has been a tetchy, typical semi-final so far. Sturgeon to get us back underway. Actually, it's Callum Ingalls who's going to kick this one off, the fullback. He's got some decent height on that, but it's going to be taken cleanly off by Jay Linton, who'll truck it up into the heavy traffic. Presents it well, Jay Linton. Patterson's in there, looking for a bit of protection. He's been bundled out the back there, Patterson. He's done really well to get his kick away, actually. Sturgeon's under this, takes it well, Sturgeon, but he's tackled once again by Charlie Welsh. Is his selection a masterstroke by Matty Douglas? Bit of obstruction there potentially by the Marr players as Blair Jardine took it in, but the referee deems that to be fine. Craig Miller now, as the volume goes up a couple of octaves here at Mansfield Park. The crowd getting right into this one, as you can probably hear, and it's been turned over by Hawick. Now it's Linton. Linton's got men over, but Linton potentially doesn't need his men. Bargie's up towards the 22, Linton. What a carry, but he spilled it in the contact.
Great, another scrap here. Gordy Reid getting involved, Robin, but great break for Jay Linton on the turnover there. But I think he did the first bit really well, got through the gap, and then you've got to be eyes up and look for your supporting players, because McKean was out there on the wing ready for the ball, but as us number 8s did, he'd done quite often, and that's what happened. But you know, I think the referee's just got to, obviously volumes are coming up here, there's just little things happening off the ball as well. He's got to keep control here. Yeah, it's just starting to get a bit feisty down there. The protagonists on that occasion, Gordy Reid and Stuart Graeme, neither of that pair are going to take a backward step. And yeah, Graeme, I can picture maybe the scene maybe 10 years ago, let's say a Melrose v Hawick semi-final there. The big number 8 of Melrose goes charging through. He's doing the exact same thing, isn't he? He's going headlong into the fullback there. Or a chip and chase. No, but Jay, I'm a massive fan of Jay Linton, just the way he plays, the way he runs, his ball skills. You know, he's always comfortable with the ball in two hands and always looking for the right option. But just there, it's probably just, if he just played a little bit more heads up and looked for his support, and maybe something would have happened for Hawick. But no, as I say, massive fan of Jay Linton. I think he could, if he gets a chance, I think he could go at a much higher level. Yeah, I've waxed lyrical about him for long enough as well. As I said earlier, best player in the division for my money, for what that's worth. But it's going to be a Marr scrum after Linton's fumble just inside their own 22, where they've spent much of this first half, which is creeping towards a conclusion with around 3 minutes to go. Hawick 5, Marr 3. Solid enough Marr scrum. Beckwith at the base. Ben Johnson keeping it in there as it crabs round, and it's been fired out by Johnson, and it's been spilled by Beckwith, and now Marr going to have to do some mopping up inside their own 22, but they've done reasonably well there, and it's back with Beckwith. Looks for his forwards to carry it up before the kick comes in. Now Beckwith at the back of this ruck, and he puts his left foot to the ball, hooks it downfield. Kirkford. Ford's got Charlie Welsh for support. Welsh, centre field. He's been well tackled, Welsh, and there's a Marr player in over that, but Hawick have
maintained possession, back towards the halfway line. Dalton Redpath takes route one, and more meaty defence by Marr here. Certainly put their bodies on the line in the first half. Sean Muir has a trundle, takes it up towards the Marr 10 metre line. So patient build-up play by Hawick. Now it's Brunton out to Riley. Riley puts his left foot to ball down into the 22, and it's gathered by Callum Ingalls, and Callum Ingalls has found a bit of free real estate on this Mansfield pitch as Kyle Brunton goes back. Brunton to Kirkford. Ford hammers it downfield, and it's been fumbled but clearly gone backwards by one of the Marr forwards, back inside their own 22, and not the greatest kick there, but he's got away with one.
Yeah, a little bit scrappy again. It's kind of gone scrappy in the last 5 minutes here again, but Hawick are maybe just trying a little bit too much to play out the back too early. You've got to earn the right to go wide sometimes in these tight games, and Marr's, as you said, solid defence there, and that's one thing I noticed when Hawick are setting defence, Marr are sitting really narrow. They're not getting to the width, so Hawick can be comfy on that and not keep the discipline, not give away these penalties, and eventually they'll cough it up or something. It'll be a turnover somewhere, but Hawick really need to earn the right to go wide and not just feel, because it's happened a couple of times in the first half, they've had little half breaks that they can go wide off first or second phase.
Yeah, and it's a line out, it's been lost by Hawick. It was well read by the Marr defensive setup. Now it's Scott Cleland, the Marr hooker, who's been busy in this first half. Now Marr, Sturgeon out to the Bickerstaff brothers in tandem. Scott and Connor up to halfway. Beckwith to Callum Follen, the second row. Just over halfway now, Marr, and it comes out again to Connor Bickerstaff, but he's met hard by Callum Rennick, this tackling machine in the Hawick back row, and he's over the ball there, Callum Rennick. He was told to leave it, and he was sensible to do exactly that, as Ben Johnson now takes it into the Hawick traffic, and again it comes back on the Marr side. Patient build up this time by Marr. Ingalls has seen enough, and he plays for territory and fires it down into the Hawick 22, but it's taken in by Kirkford. Kirkford's kept that in play, and again it comes to Ingalls. Ingalls again sends it down this Mansfield paddock. Now that's going to be controlled by the foot by Hector Patterson, and he puts it to the touchline this time in decent clearance.
Decent clearance, yeah. That's all they need to do at this stage of the first half. It's the first time really Marr have had any real territory inside the Hawick half, albeit only by 5 or 6 yards. But Hawick, as I've said, they kind of sound like a broken record, but they're so comfy defensively, they don't need to push it.
They've taken the line out quickly, Marr, unorthodox, but the referee's going to bring them back. There's a bit of a tete-a-tete with Digby Thomas, his AR on that far side there. Going to go back for a more orthodox setup. The line out for Mars went pretty well thus far, and it is the curse of the commentator because they've fumbled that one. It's going to be taken in by Hawick. The referees deemed that to be knocked on by Hawick, so this time it's going to be a Marr scrum on the Hawick 10 metre line, and they've gained a wee bit of territory by virtue of the fact of a Hawick error.
Let's quickly go to the green yards. Andrew Fleming.
Half an hour on the clock, and Mellors have registered their first try of the afternoon in the strangest of circumstances. With his team under pressure, Highland number 8 Callum Carson elected to clear from the in-goal area, but his kick went straight into the hands of Elliot Ruthven, who had the simple task of grounding the ball. David Colvin has added the extras for Mellors 10, Highland 0.
Okay, it's Curry 14 now, Edinburgh Accies 0. Rhys Davis adding to Cody McGovern's try in the 18th minute of that game. It's Hawick 5, Marr 3 here in the other semi-final play-off. In National 1, Aberdeen 8, GHK 7, Ayr 7, Bigger 10. Jamie Bova responding to a couple of early bigger tries. Melrose 10, Highland 7 now. Ewan Milton has just scored for Highland. Melrose down to 13 men as well with 2 yellow cards. Watsonians have a couple of yellow cards as well, and it's Watsonians 3, Kelso 13.
There's a half break made off the back of that Marr scrum by Ben Johnson, and you look to feed it inside to the onrushing Blair Jardine, but it was spilled forward by Jardine, so it's been gathered back by Hawick in their own 22, and Charlie Welsh this time has sent it to the touchline, but Sam O'Neill has seen enough. And Graeme, we've mentioned it before, this has been an absorbing yet error-strewn typical semi-final.
Absolutely. It's quite often how these games go, and you know, Hawick have never looked like conceding a try, which is the really positive thing from a coaching point of view. No matter, will go in there quite comfy, really. You know, they've not put many phases together, they've made mistakes at vital times, but Hawick were never like conceding a try, so they have to be confident in that respect. But Marr have come to play, which is good to see, but they're just coming up against a really Hawick team that's defensively just standing strong.
With that in mind, if you're Craig Redpath down there, the Marr head coach, and you've seen what you've seen in the first half, you know, Marr knocking at the door, trying to get out their half, not making too much headway. What do you say down there? I mean, what do you do to try and get through this green wall? It's
difficult. You know, they've obviously had to put boot to ball quite a lot to be able to get territory or to try and get out their own half, and I think it's very limited what you can actually do, you know, as a team when you come up against a defence like Hawick are today. And you know, they'll have to just try something maybe a wee bit unorthodox, short line outs, just try and mix it up a little bit, you know, change the picture a little bit from a defensive point of view. And you know, Craig has alluded to at the start of the programme, you know, he's had 14 seasons with Marr, and he had a few seasons with Ayr before that, so he's been about and he's played at this level as well, you know, for Melrose when he was a player, so he's been there, done it, and if anybody knows how to get out of it, it'll be him.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this already, but now that we're at half time and we're going to be into the second half and around the 60-minute mark potentially, we're getting back to these benches, aren't we?
Oh, definitely. I think you know, as the game goes on and if it stays as tight as it is staying, you know, that I think will be the difference. And as I say, hopefully for the Hawick point of view, but you know, nerves then creep in as well. You know, it stays a 2 or 3 point, even a 1-score game, and you never know what's round the corner, and nerves creep in, and you know, there's a little mistake here and there. But hopefully from the Hawick point of view, their defence is exactly the same, and in attack they just keep hold of the ball for longer periods. You know, if they can put 10, 12, 13 phases together, they will break down this Marr defence.
And as the game ekes on, if it remains at 5-3 and it remains a wee bit error-strewn, can a big partisan home crowd like this become a wee bit of more of a hindrance than a help potentially from a pressure perspective if you're playing for Hawick?
There'll certainly be pressure. You know, this squad will feel the pressure if it stays tight, but you'd like to think, you know, big crowd here at Mansfield, you know, the Green Machine's rolled all season, and hopefully that's enough just to get them over the edge, get it nice and noisy, you know, once they get into the 22. And you know, I've been here with big crowds playing for Melrose, and it's quite an intimidating crowd to play against for all the right reasons, but you know, hopefully it puts more pressure on Marr than it does on their own boys.
So Hawick 5, Marr 3 here at Mansfield. Tennent's Premiership semi-final. The winner, of course, will be Hawick, and if it's Hawick, it will be here next week, and it looks like potentially maybe against Currie, who have a lead at Millennium thus far against Edinburgh Accies, but you know, plenty to play for there, as there is here. It remains Hawick 5, Marr 3.
I can tell you it's 21-0 now at Millennium Park. Another try for Currie, and that is the half-time score. We'll be back after the break.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner, Evie's Baton Journey, is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available at the official Facebook page, which you can visit from the Borders Rugby TV homepage. Evie's having a ball, March 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, The Complete Borders Railway, is available now.
Hi, Nicky Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com. Brave the storm.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Mansfield Park, which has got a big crowd today. It's Hawick 5, Marr 3 in the Premiership semi-final. The other match at the moment happening at Maleny Park, Currie 21, Edinburgh Accies 0, so they're well in control there for back-to-back finals. Of course, they lost to Marr at Maleny Park last season. Let's have a look at some of the other scores. Ayr have taken the lead. It's Ayr 14, Biggar 10 now. They conceded a couple of early tries, but Jamie Bova and Zach Howard on the score sheet for Ayr. Still waiting from Dundee and Stu Mel, but Melrose, we can tell you at half-time it's Melrose 10, Highland 14. Melrose down to 13 men there. Nothing in yet from Stirling County against Gala, but Watsonians 3, Kelso 13, and Watsonians down to 13 men, a couple of yellows for them. Into National 2, Berwick at home are very difficult to beat, but they're losing at half-time. Berwick 3, just a Jack Webster penalty and a couple of tries for Dumfries. Berwick 3, Dumfries 10. Boroughmuir running away with it at Meggetland against Cartha Queen's Park. It's currently Boroughmuir 35, Cartha Queen's Park 5. And bad news for Peebles at the moment. At the break, it's Falkirk 31, Peebles 0. Nothing in from Glasgow Accies against Kirkcaldy. Glasgow Accies, obviously former table toppers, wanting to get back into that position. It's Lasswade 21, Hamilton 19, and Newton Stuart 5, Preston Lodge 3 is the latest score there. And in the semi-junior decider, which is happening at the Geights at the moment, it's Peebles in control. Peebles Colts 28, Morpeth Colts 17, and that's just gone into the second half. Of course, we've got the second half coming up very shortly here at Mansfield Park. But just before it all starts here at Mansfield Park, a quick word with Graeme Dodds about the season structure for next season. Of course, we've had things like 3 going down from National 1, 5 going down from National 2. It's been pretty chaotic, certainly exciting, but for some clubs a little bit too much excitement, I think. But it's all happening because next year we go down to the 10-team leagues, 5 divisions, 50 teams playing national rugby. Is this a sensible approach for you?
I think it is, yeah. I think it keeps it simple. As you've said, this year, especially in National 1, it's been a difficult one for the National 1 sides, like the Kelso Melroses, because there's only one team going up. So you have a good season, finish second. Generally, when you're in a lower league, you get that little bit of impetus to finish second and go up as well, or at least have a playoff match. But this year, hopefully Kelso win against Ayr and win today, and they do the job, in that league and go up. But it could have been 2 border clubs, fighting for that Premiership position, with Gala obviously competing in the early parts of the season as well. So I think it's keeping it simple, isn't it? Five leagues of 10, and then I assume it'll be 2 up, 2 down going forward. Is that
I think from what I've heard, it's one up, 1 down, but okay. We'll have that confirmed. I have actually put in a request for information on that one. A lot of talk, of course, about regionalising everything. We're actually going the other way, aren't we, because of the extra division. It'll be 4 National League divisions. How sustainable is it going to be for some clubs, particularly when they get in the same league as like Orkney, for instance?
Yeah, it's difficult, and it always has been a bit of an issue. If you've got to go up to Orkney, or it's even in like a National 1 from a personal point of view with Melrose, going up to Highland. There's an expense that goes with that as well. And it's obviously these guys are not getting paid, so they have to be in their jobs. So if they've got to leave on a Friday afternoon, they've got to sacrifice something there, and it is difficult logistically, for getting about the country. And if you're a Dumfries, travelling to an Orkney, the 2 ends of the country, it is difficult. I think definitely the way that we're going in the Borders with the Border League for the second 15. I think that's a good way to go. Here there's been recent meetings, and the seconds are all going to play in the same league locally, which is great, because you know what it's like trying to get numbers for 2 full teams every week. It's not that easy with other commitments from players these days at the social side of rugby. So for them, it just to maybe have to go as far as 45 minutes away will make a big difference to that. So I think that's a good idea, certainly.
The teams are coming out onto the pitch once again here at Mansfield Park. Big cheer for the Greens as they come out. The purple and gold are out as well of Marr. It's really on a knife edge. It's Hawick 5, it's Marr 3. Let's hand you back to Graeme Dodds and Robin Purdie.
Yes, welcome back. It is all on the line here. This tetchy occasion, nip and tuck semi-final. Hawick 5, Marr 3. It's going to be Hawick this half to attack the clubhouse end. It's going to be Hawick to kick off. And Graeme, this Marr team, there's 9 players, 9 of the starting 15 played in that final last season. Can they feed off that? Can they bring that back?
Yeah, I think they definitely will. That experience, there's you can't buy experience, as they say, and for 9 of these guys to have the success of last year, it's filtering that round to the players round about them with the less experience. That'll be the difficult thing for them. But the long, as I said it before half time, the longer it stays like this, the more they'll feel they're still in the game.
So Kirkford is kicked off. It's been taken in by the Marr forwards. They're inside their own 22, and the scrum half Gregor Beckwith has cleared his line. So first line out of the second half to Hawick, 5 metres or so outside the Marr 22. Decent early platform from which to work, and the set pieces, Graeme, the scrums and the lineouts didn't go particularly well in the first half for Hawick.
No, it didn't, and I think Lewis Bertram, the forwards coach in there for the Hawick squad, will have addressed that half time. Maybe just simplify things a little bit and a wee bit more concentration at scrum time. But I think that the message, what I would think as a coach, would be to early start. Let's get in this game. Let's get points early, and we can just relax into it a bit more.
Yeah, well, that line out certainly went well. It was taken in by Connor Sutherland right on the top, and it was fed to Callum Rennick, who's made decent yardage here. Now the backs are involved, and it's Charlie Welsh, really impressive in the first half, the young winger. Patterson now to Sean Muir. Sean Muir feeds Jay Linton, another impressive performer, and he's still going. Linton 5 metres inside the Marr 22. It's been taken on by Redpath, and Redpath's popped it out to Sean Muir, and he carries it forward another metre or two. So Hawick very much in the early ascendancy at the start of the second half, and Linton has another carry, but that's a meaty challenge on Linton. Patterson, no, it's fed back to him, and here comes Brunton. Brunton's got runners, and one of those runners, Ethan Riley, and Ethan Riley up to the 5 metre line now. Hawick very much piling on the pressure here. Sean Muir with another carry early in this second half, and the referee's arm goes out, but no, it's not a penalty coming. It's been spilled back on the Hawick side, taken in by Charlie Welsh, and here comes Muir again. 3 carries for him already in this second half. Patterson feeds Brunton. Brunton's got Riley again, this second playmaker. Now it's Kirkford with a long pass, and it's been spilled by McKean. Spilled forward by McKean at that, and another chance goes a begging.
And we touched on it in the first half. You've got to earn that right to go wide. Now Hawick have been really effective with big carries through the middle from Jay Linton and Sean Muir. Keep doing that. Don't get bored of it coming up through the middle. Then it'll be on out wide. You don't need to go wide second, third phase. Build into that, and then it'll be on. It should be a well walk-in for these wingers. They've just got to keep it tight to start with. They've been really effective up front. These big carries from their big ball carriers. Keep the ball, and it'll be on.
Yeah, there was power play by those Hawick forwards. As you say, maybe just another couple of phases would have done the trick. They opted to go wide, and it was spilled by McKean. McKean, of course, the Hawick try scorer this afternoon. Hawick 5, Marr 3. 3 minutes into the second half, and as it was in the first half, the territory has belonged exclusively to Hawick, but it's going to be a Marr scrum, 10 metres from their own line, 5 metres in from this packed stand here at Mansfield. Plenty of people around the periphery as well, up in front of the bar and over on this far banking. Biggest crowd I've seen at Mansfield for a while, and that's the biggest scrum of the day from Hawick, but it's been tidied up at the back, and he's done well, the fullback Ben Johnson, and now the Marr forwards are making their way up the park, and they've exited really well there, and there's a Marr player down. He looks like he's in a bit of pain. It's Connor Bickerstaff, the Marr centre and the Marr captain, doing the scrum half duties, but he's been wrapped up by Hawick, and Might that come back on the Hawick side? No. This time it's the regular scrum half Beckwith with the pass, and Marr giving it air, but it's been spilled. It's gone backwards, however. Callum Ingalls went over his head. Marr now inside their own 22. They've lost a bit of territory there. This Hawick defence, this green line that Graeme was full of praise for in the first half, looks equally as comfortable in this second half so far, at least. And it was Blair Jardine who was injured. He looks a wee bit unsteady on his feet. And that's been charged down. The kick from the scrum half Beckwith. The Hawick forwards pile through onto the player that recovered that, and the penalty has come to Hawick. It's a penalty just to the right of the post, 5 metres from the line. And I'll ask the question that I tend to ask a summariser every week, Graeme, for want of not sounding like a broken record. What are you doing here?
I kick the goal at this stage of the game, definitely go 8-3 up, and then just go for territory after that. But it was a funny one, for this scrum down here in front of us. Hawick were very much on the ascendancy, and quite often when the scrum splits like that, and then the Marr player actually got away, and they got outside their 22 very well. But again, sound like a broken record, but Hawick's defence is so strong. The charge down from the side of the ruck, and then great terrier like Jackal there from Dalton Redpath wins the penalty for Hawick. And yeah, they just need to settle into the second half. Kick the goal, and then we'll play away for there. The tries will come if they just be patient.
And it's going to be Kirkford, 137 points for him so far this season with a boot. He's on 147 for the season, all points, everything taken into account, including his 2 tries. This, if he kicks it, will bring up 140 with that cultured right boot of his, as the crowd falls silent here at Mansfield. Kirkford taking the minute that's available to him. Begins his run up, strikes it well forward, and it splits the Kinlan, and that is exactly what Hawick wanted, and it's what they've deserved so far in the second half.
Been all Hawick this second half, and winning that territory battle like they have the whole game actually. But just from this kick-off, this is really important. When you get points on the board, you see a lot of teams and they'll slip up the next play, and lets teams back into it. They don't want to give Marr a sniff at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and that's where experience potentially comes into it for Hawick. They know their way around the rugby field. A lot of these players, very few inexperienced players in the Hawick ranks, and it's going to be Callum Ingalls, the Marr fullback. 2 tries to his name this season to get us back underway. Bounces the ball umpteen times on the halfway line, but there's just having a slight break here for the injured Marr player, who's now making his way back forward. It was he who was injured earlier on, Blair Jardine. So impressive this season, Jardine. 6 tries actually, 4 times in the offside line, team of the week. For me, he's been their main man, certainly on the occasions that I've seen him. And Ingalls has went long, straight into the arms of Kirkford, the penalty scorer, and Ford's put the laces through that, and he's sent that from his own 22 up into the Marr half, and just that experience starting to show.
Yeah, I think so, and that's exactly what you want. Territory gain there straight away. Hawick have a chance now to go and try and get involved in this Marr line out, which hasn't really been going well for either team today. If we're being honest, set pieces have been a bit of a free for all. They've certainly not been bankers for the team throwing in or putting in at the scrum, but. Hawick, I think this is a really important part of the game. 10 minutes into the second half, and if Hawick can get the next points, they're almost getting a little bit of daylight between them and Marr. Then they'll start to panic a little bit, hopefully, and Hawick can pull away.
Let's quickly go to the Green Yards. Half-time there. Melrose against Highland. Andrew Fleming.
After an action-packed first half, it's Highland who lead 14 points to 10. A David Colvin penalty and a converted Elliot Ruthven try had the hosts in control, but the visitors responded with a 7-pointer from Ewan Milton. With Melrose down to 13 following sin bins to Will Owen and Elliot Ruthven, Highland centre Timothy Wakanabow split the defence for a score, and his team hold a 4-point lead at the break.
So the Marr line-out has been taken and it's been won. There's a ruck there, centre field. And that's a big tackle on the on-rushing Scott Bickerstaff. He has stopped dead in his tracks, but he's managed to retain possession. Marr still where they've been most of this game, inside their own half. Now it's Connor Bickerstaff, runs out of ideas a wee bit there, Bickerstaff, and has to put his foot to the ball, but it's been taken in by Kirkford, and Kirkford's bundled into touch, and that does give Marr their first foray into the Hawick half this second half, and looks like he's took a wee bit of a sore one there, Kirkford. They want to lose him, but no, he's back up and making his way somewhat gingerly back towards his full-back position, and much of the same so far this second half.
Yeah, much of the same. It's still pretty scrappy, isn't it? 8-3, it can really go any way at this stage, and but not much on there for Connor Bickerstaff, so he put a clever little kick in actually, and Kirkford didn't really have anywhere to go. He didn't have time to kick it long, and didn't really have time to work away for that touchline, so it is a Marr put in here, but Hawick are fairly comfy in this line out position, especially first, second, third phase. Really Marr have not made any inroads into the Hawick half.
And there's an injury here, a Marr change being made, and it's a big old lump of a boy that's entered the fray. Cameron Young, his 16th appearance this season since signing last summer. He's got 1 try, 1 yellow card to his name. We're just waiting to see who he's replaced, but they don't really lose anything from a bulk point of view with him, that's for sure. And Marr have won the line out. Bickerstaff to Ingles to Jack Scott. The slight framer, Jack Scott, but there's a good break down that far side by Marr. The Hawick cover get across eventually. That was Connor Bickerstaff, saw the space and took it, but a penalty's been conceded by Marr, and that's almost the best attacking opportunity of the match.
Yeah, it's the first time they've really made any inroads into the Hawick territory, into 22, and see the supporting player just went off his feet there, and takes away the competition. That's what the rule is there. If that man goes off his feet, takes the competition away for the defence, and it's a penalty. Disappointing from Marr, obviously. A great reward for the Hawick team.
Kirkford with a right-footed banana kick takes play up towards the Hawick 10-metre line. It'll be a Hawick line out over on this far side here at Mansfield. 11 minutes gone in this second half. Tennent's Premiership semi-final. It's Fraser Rennick with a throw-in, and this time it's been taken cleanly by Connor Sutherland. It's been squirted out the back of the maul there, and it's been knocked on. So another mistake by Hawick, and they're just starting to rack up again. Yeah,
it's just disappointing from a Hawick point of view. As an ex-forward, you want to make your set pieces. If you set pieces of your bankers, your driving line out, your scrum, keep everything. Especially when you get in that maul situation, keep it tight. Fraser Rennick's one of the best at it, steering that ship from the back of that row and maul, and obviously a little bit of lack of communication there. The ball didn't get back to him cleanly, and a drop ball, and it just gives Marr a chance to get back into the game, where really if Hawick had been clinical, there shouldn't have been an opportunity.
Yeah, and he was frustrated, Fraser Rennick, because space had actually opened up, and he shot through it like a rat up a drain, and he was into the open prairie, but the referee, Sam O'Neill, pulled them back, and now it's a Marr scrum to be fed by Gregor Beckwith. 15 metres in from the far side, the banking side here at Mansfield, on the Hawick 10-metre line, but Hawick get the shut on in the scrum, but it's won cleanly at the back by Marr, and now they're looking to run a set move off the back, and it comes out to Jake Jacobson, not seeing too much of the ball in this half. And again, Hawick with a solid defence, plenty in the stand, again shouting for a Hawick penalty as the Hawick player was over the ball there. Good defence by Fraser Rennick on Connor Bickerstaff. And again it's Beckwith out the door to Sturgeon. Sturgeon has a dart this time. The standoff. Most territory probably Marr have had in this one. And again another chopped tackle, and this time it's Ingles that's caught by Jay Linton, and the Marr players being driven back there towards the halfway line. Beckwith again out the back door to Craig Miller this time. Craig Miller stopped on the halfway line. Again Hawick players in over the ball, but again it comes back on the Marr side, right on halfway, centre field. Scott Cleland, the hooker this time, he takes it in, and again he's hit hard by Hawick players. Graeme so often has alluded to they'll just look so comfortable in defence.
Yeah, very much so. They know exactly what each man either side of them are doing, and they're getting these chopped tackles in, and when there's a chance to have a go at ball, they're having a go at the right time, but they're not giving away penalties. As he says, Hawick have given away a penalty, but up until then they were being very disciplined.
Yeah, the purple jerseys having their most purple patch, if you like, of this match. That's been knocked on at the base. Can see that from here Beckwith, but the referee's going to go back for the penalty that Graeme mentioned, and they're having their best spell here.
They are. The longer, I've said it before, the longer they're in this game, the longer it's a 5, 6, 7 point game, the longer they'll be more comfortable and think they're in with a chance. Hawick's so comfortable defensively. It's just rule out having a jackal, because you don't need to. Just give them the width, because they're not going to go through you. Unless there's a missed tackle, which it doesn't look like there's going to be from a Hawick point of view. If they can keep their discipline, they'll win this game.
Yeah, they certainly look very, very difficult to penetrate. This green wall. As it's Scott Bickerstaff this time, the left foot of Scott Bickerstaff sends it to the touchline, and it's going to be Marr with their best attacking position of the match so far. It's going to be a line out right on the Hawick 22. So Hawick so comfortable in defence, but this is the first, or this is the biggest test that they've had in terms of depth into their own territory. Scott Cleland with the line out goes towards the tail, but it's been stolen by Hawick at the tail. Palmed back, and Connor Sutherland goes down on it, and Hawick are going to mop that up inside their own 22. Connor Brunton. Kyle Brunton, I beg your pardon. Kyle Brunton sends it to the touchline, and again a decent clearance.
Yeah, great kick from the standoff there. That just relieves a lot of pressure from as a forward. You just like to get up and go, thanks for that,
Yeah.
Thanks for that 10. But the set pieces, for a Premiership semi-final, the set pieces from both sets of players have been really poor. And all credit to, especially in the line-outs, they're having a real go and competing for the opposition ball. But it's Hawick, especially from a Borders point of view, will want to get their set pieces nice, tightened up, win their own ball, and they can be able to build off that.
As the heavy artillery, or some of the heavy artillery enter the battle on the Hawick side, it's Rory McLeod, 44th game for Hawick this afternoon. He comes on to replace Nicky Little in the front row, and Gareth Welsh comes on at scrum half for Hector Patterson. So they'll be looking to put an early stamp on the game, but it's Marr in possession. 10 metres inside the Hawick half. Scott Cleland been a willing carrier for them this afternoon. Beckwith at the base of the resulting ruck. Caught in two minds there. Sturgeon hit hard but maintains possession. Now it's out to Bickerstaff. Connor Bickerstaff evades a couple of challenges. Jay Linton's in over there. Has that been knocked on? No, the referee's content enough, and it continues to come back on the Marr side. Marr, as mentioned, just enjoying their best spell of possession here. Gordy Reid, he feeds it out to one of the on-rushing forwards. That's Ben Johnson. Johnson hit by, and there's a half break there by that man, Gordy Reid, and he feeds it out to his front row colleague, Scott Cleland. So, inching forward here, Marr. Hawick trusting in the defence, though. They're spread out well over this field. Don't look in too much strife at this point, but that's Gareth Welsh in over that. But it's going to come back on the Marr side once again. Another meaty challenge in there, this time on Craig Miller. Marr, though, maintaining possession, and they've went into forward gear again. Sturgeon, fed by Bickerstaff, evades the first challenge, and they're now inching towards, and it's been knocked on. Did it come off the boot? Well, I think the referee's not going to give that. I thought for all the world that was a knock on, and he's awarded a knock on to Marr somewhere in there, Graeme.
Doesn't look like it from where we're sitting, certainly, but it is a Marr put into this scrum. But Hawick are fairly comfy there, but you notice when you get to 5, 6, 7 phases that Hawick are a little bit stretched in those wide 15 channels, and young Welsh here had to step out the line, and that's when he's just under pressure. A player has to step out the line when he's under pressure. So if that goes to a Marr hand cleanly, they've got a chance up that touchline. But Hawick are certainly more than comfortable defensively. But Marr are just putting more and more phases together and actually just building themselves into this game a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of involvements there for Gordy Reid. Looked like he was blowing hard as he went down to pack into that scrum. 41 caps for Scotland, 1 try. The ex-Glasgow Warrior and London Irishman still going strong down in Troon. That scrum's gone down, so it's going to be a reset where Marr maybe 15 metres from the Hawick 22 over on that far side. The referee's going to reset them.
Couple of latest scores. Currie 28, Inbrackis 7. It's obviously Hawick 8, Marr 3 here. In National 1, Aberdeen 15, GHK 35. Ayr have the bonus point, 26, Bigger 10. They were 10-0 down, remember. And Melrose have taken the lead at the Green Yards 17-14. A Callum Cruikshank's try has added to an Elliot Ruffin one from earlier on. It's now 17-14 to Melrose. Stirling County 14, Gala 19 is the latest score. Watsonians 10, Kelso 13.
And the Marr scrum has been taken, it's been wheeled right round, but the referee's penalised Hawick. It's another scrum penalty conceded by Hawick, and Marr are going to have a penalty 15-16 metres outside the Hawick 22, 10 metres maybe in from the banking side. And I'll ask you the question again, Graeme, what do you do here?
Yeah, I would kick the goal if you're confident in your goal kicker, just at this stage of the game. But I can't see what they're having a shot at post, Robin. But you know, it's too close to not have a shot. You know, get it from Marr point of view, get it back to 8-6, and then it's back to basically where we were at half time. You know, and it's just it's slightly worrying from a Borders perspective that the Marr are building themselves into this game. You know, obviously a good full of 20 minutes left, but at the same time, Hawick are cramped in their own half a bit more than they were in the first half, and just looking at a little bit more nervous.
79 points at the moment in the semi-junior decider. It's currently Peebles Colts 45, Morpeth Colts 34. We have a latest from Bridgehaw as well. Stirling County 20, Gala 24.
And it's going to be Colin Sturgeon to attempt this kick at goal. As I said, he's maybe 15-16 metres outside the Hawick 22 and 10 metres in from the banking side. Accomplished goal kicker Sturgeon, and again it's another good looking strike, and it again dissects the upright. So Hawick 8, Marr 6, and it is game on.
Game on, 20 minutes to go, and it really isn't really anybody's out here. I still feel Marr have never really looked like scoring a try, so I'm still confident that Hawick will come through this, but you just never know. We talked about before the game, these semi-finals there's a lot of pressure on both clubs, and you know, as the game goes on, hopefully the Hawick experience of the bench that we've talked about will come through, but it's still all to play for here.
Yeah, Hawick, of course, 21 long years since they won the top division. The cup double that year was won. The heady days and Nicky Walker and Roddy Deans and the like. But Marr have taken in the kick-off inside their own 22. They're a lot of the possession in the last 10-15 minutes. Marr after a strong Hawick start to this second half. And Beckwith again puts his left foot to ball. And again he finds touch. So it's going to be a Hawick line out. A lot of the rugby played on the banking side. Here at Mansfield, Hawick line out on the Marr. The Marr 10 metre line, and they'll be looking just to feel their way back into this Hawick.
Absolutely, yes. Great start to the first half. You know, we talked about it, putting phases together, putting Marr under real strain, and their defence was starting to crack. And then unfortunately, it's been Marr for the last really 10-12 minutes. So Hawick need to get their foothold back in this second half.
Yeah, line out on that far side. Plenty Hawick worthies in attendance over there, and again they've lost a line out. Starting to become a concern this for Hawick, you would imagine. Taken in by Marr, and they'll look to build from deep. And again, it's Cleland, the squat figure of this Marr hooker, who's offered himself up for so much of the marks. So the work for Marr this afternoon. It's Miller out to Sturgeon to Connor Bickerstaff. Connor Bickerstaff with a chip ahead, tries to regather his own trip, but he's spilled it forward. Jay Linton. Now Jay Linton takes a couple of Marr defenders to drag him down, and it's Gareth Welsh. Referee kind of in the way of Gareth Welsh there, and it's been lost again. Forward by Hawick. I don't think the referee done any favours to Hawick there. No, the referee's saying it's been ripped back by the Marr player. So it wasn't knocked on after all, it was ripped back, and Gareth Welsh has taken it quickly. No Marr player, 10 metres. It doesn't look like there's another penalty coming. I'll come back to you in a second, Graeme, to dissect that one for us, but it's trundled up by Dalton Redpath. Welsh again, out to Brunton. Brunton's got a runner in the shape of Andrew Mitchell, and he evades the first tackle. Up into the 22 now, Hawick. A penalty wouldn't go amiss here. They're bang in front. It's Brunton again. Brunton's got a runner. Ford comes back inside. Ford, plenty support over there. It's going to come back on the Hawick side. Welsh has made his way over. Now it's to Rory McLeod, the substitute prop. Again, decent defence by Marr. It's flung back, almost with gay abandon by McLeod, and it's tidied up by Fraser Rennick, right on the 22. The referee's going to bring them back. However, is that going to be a penalty? And Graeme, if that is a penalty for not retreating 10, should there be a card coming out?
I think there should, absolutely. I mean, it was very, very cynical. You know, young Welsh went quickly looking for the penalty. You know, that's what good nines do. Get that extra 10, 12 yards. And, you know, for me, it's certainly, if it's not a yellow card, it should certainly be a team warning for Marr. You know, when you get into this area of the field, it's pretty cynical. It's very hard as a defence just to let a man run past you, but at the same time, if you know what you're doing and you're cynical enough to stop him, you know, you've got to be warned as a team. But it looks like Kirk Ford is getting ready, so it looks like he's probably going to kick the goal here, which is probably the right decision the way things are. You know, it's 15, 16 minutes left on the clock, and you'd back Hawick to go to the corner and score, but the way the line-out's been going as well, it's not just 100% guaranteed, Robin.
A quick latest update from National 1, important ones as well. Ayr 26, Biggar 10, so they've got the 4-try bonus point. Melrose 17, Highland 21 now, and Watsonians have equalised against Kelso. Watsonians 13, Kelso 13.
And it's Graeme for Graeme here. Ross, the Hawick substitute for his brother Stuart, so it looks like somebody will play in the back row, possibly Ross Graham, equally adept at hooker of course, and Kirk Ford's put that down towards the corner, Graeme, as you alluded to, so it's going to be Fraser Rennick to throw in, and it's a 5-metre line out to Hawick here. They will be looking to come away with something in this tight semi-final. 14 minutes to go. Hawick 8, Marr 6, and the drive is on here by Hawick. The drive is on. It's stopped just short. Hawick very much in the ascendant, so a metre from the line. There's Marr, bodies over the ball. And have Marr stolen that? Gareth Welsh is in there guddling for it, and it's came back on the Hawick side. Hawick forwards were rushing up towards him. Now it's Jay Linton towards the line, and Jay Linton's over the line. The crowd will tell you they're on their feet, and Jay Linton, one of the Premiership's top operators, has got the second Hawick try of the afternoon. And Graeme, they got themselves in the position, and that's exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, we talked about it, getting the right areas of the field, and it'll come. You know, the Hawick side's done it all season, and you know, there was a penalty coming there. Marr under massive pressure as the defensive unit, and Sam O'Neill had his arm out there, so it was a bit of a free ball for Hawick, but just that pure power from Jay Linton was enough just to squeeze over the line. And I'm just looking over there, and I see his brother Sean with his white hat on, with his arm up in the air as his brother Jay scored the try, so it's good to see.
Indeed, and it's going to be Kirk Ford with a conversion attempt, but the main thing now for the Hawick faithful is that there's a bit of daylight. 13 points to 6, kick to come. He's 7 metres in from the stand side. A metre or so outside the 22 is where he's going to strike this from. As we've said before, he is the league's top point scorer with the boot this season, Kirk Ford. For me, a late conversion at Aki's was almost what got the ball rolling in terms of their unbeaten run or their winning run. Ford takes the run up, he struck it well. Ford, never in any doubt as soon as it left the boot.
Very, very, very important time to get that 7 points as well for Hawick. You know, 13 minutes left on the clock, and you build towards the later stages of this game, and you couldn't have wished for it, couldn't have wanted a better time to score those 7 points.
Yeah, and it's a 9-point deficit. 13 minutes or so to go here in this Premiership semi-final. Hawick 15, Marr 6. Marr to kick off once again through Ingles, and again Ingles has went deep, and it's going to be reasonably easy to take that in by the try scorer Jay Linton, and again he beats the first man as he always seems to do. So Hawick possession just outside their own 22, nice and comfortable. It's Welsh, the scrum half. He's kind of got under that, he attempted to put it in the box. Welsh, but the chase was good enough by his brother Charlie, and it's over on that far side. It's a bit of a free for all. It's came back on the Marr side. Now it's Gordy Reid, chop tackle on Gordy Reid. He was stationary when he took that, in fairness. Now it's back to Ingles. Ingles filling in as the first receiver. Scott Cleland. That's been stolen by his opposite number, Fraser Rennick. But Cleland, it looked like he took a dull one, Graeme, and the referee's done the right thing there.
Yeah, absolutely. Any contact with the head or any player that's in any sort of pain with the head, the game has to stop. So that was quick thinking from the man in the middle. But great turnover for Fraser Rennick there. He plays like a back row forward in the loose, and straight on the ball there and ripped it away for Hawick. And I think there's obviously still 11.5 minutes to go, but this next couple of minutes is really important for Hawick. It's 9-point game. There's still good breathing space from Marr, but concede now, and it's a different complex in this game, but build into territory, in the Marr half, and Hawick should just finish the game off.
Latest scores at the moment in the other semi-final at Millennium Park: Currie 28, Mbrackis 7. It's 15-6 here at Mansfield Park. Hawick leading Marr. International 1, Aberdeen 20, GHK 42, Ayr 26, Biggar 10. All latest scores. Melrose have just taken the lead. A Struan Hutchison try puts them 1 point ahead of Highland. It's now Melrose 22, Highland 21, Stirling 20, Gala 24, Watsonians 13, Kelso 13 is a latest score, and it's congratulations to Peebles Colts. They have won the semi-junior decider at the Gites by 52 points to 34 against Morpeth Colts. Well done to them. Berwick 8, Dumfries 10 is the latest score. Boroughmuir 62, Cartha Queen's Park 5, Falkirk 38, Peebles 21. That's the third converted try for Peebles. Lasswade 46, Hamilton 33. Some really big scores at the moment this afternoon, but one at Newton Stewart, which isn't at the moment. It's Newton Stewart 5, Preston Lodge 3.
And you rejoin us with a Hawick scrum, centre field, 6 metres outside their own 10-metre line. It'll be Welsh to feed. Andrew Acton is on in place of Craig Miller. That's the first time Craig Miller's departed the scene this season, as we said earlier, and it's a penalty to Hawick. Acton's first act, the substitute prop, is to concede a penalty, and there's been a wee bit of chit-chat in there towards Sam O'Neill, and that's a cheap 10 metres conceded.
Yeah, it's brave refereeing, when an ex-Scotland international's having a wee bit yip at you with the verbals, and straight away didn't even think about it, marched them back 10 yards. So good refereeing there, because it was a scrum penalty there. You could see that side of the scrum went down, and referee got it bang on, and that just relieves the pressure for Hawick, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Kirkford has sent it into the stand. So Hawick line out, equidistant between the Marr 22 and the Marr 10 metre line. It'll be that man, Fraser Rennick.
Berwick have just taken the lead. It's Berwick 11, Dumfries 10 in that vital National 2 game. Jack Webster, another penalty from him.
So Fraser Rennick in a conversation with his prop, Sean Muir, the Hawick captain. 209 games for Sean Muir, no less, as he makes his way into the line out, and they go towards the tail, and it's taken in cleanly by Jay Linton. Now Fraser Rennick on the charge. Big carry by Fraser Rennick up towards the 22. Gareth Welsh waiting on the ball to come back. Welsh out the back door to Callum Rennick. Welsh in there again. Brunton to Mitchell. Mitchell taken in there, I beg your pardon, it was Ross. Graeme. Hawick still in, maintaining possession up into the 22, looking to put the game to bed here, and you'd think another try would surely do that, but it's been stolen by Marr, and legally, according to Sam O'Neill. So that's a vital intervention there, as Hawick were building ahead of steam. And it's Beckwith to Sturgeon. Sturgeon puts it to touchline, so it'll be another Hawick line out and another platform from which to build. 8 minutes remaining in this semi-final. Hawick 15, Marr 6, and Marr have got it to do from here.
Definitely. I mean, they need to try and build something now. They can't wait another 4 or 5 minutes. They need to get something on the board, whether it's a penalty or a try. But from a Hawick point of view, anything points wise for them, would just probably get them over the line. They're 9 points ahead just now, but even a drop goal or a penalty would just take them out of sight.
Kelso have just gone in front. It's Watsonians 13, a try for Kelso 18.
And Sean Fairbairn, another hugely experienced operator, comes onto the park for Hawick. Is that going to be for Jay Linton? No, it's for Fraser Rennick, so there's going to be a reshuffle of sorts in that Hawick pack. Fraser Rennick, for me, Graeme, has been absolutely outstanding this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. He's he plays in the tight like a hooker, but he plays in the open field like a back row forward, which is what you want for your modern day hooker. He was definitely been one of the stars of the afternoon.
Yeah, the ex-Super 6 man, of course, and he showed it this afternoon. Riley, that's a sensible play by Riley. That's a great kick by Riley. Nothing really on. I've been so impressed by him since he turned up at Hawick from Australia this season. He was exactly what Hawick were needing to take them to that next level for me.
Yeah, he's a ball player, isn't he? He's like that. He's like that second operator there. You've got your standoff, and then you've got Riley outside you who can put those clever little kicks in. 9 points up. There's no need to push a pass that's not on. Kick it into the corner. Make Marr play out. They're not going to score from their own 22-yard line. So, I've been really impressed with him this afternoon as well.
As another Hawick sub comes on, Lewis Ferguson. He's had a great season, Lewis Ferguson. 9 tries so far. Back to rugby this season after maybe a year or two at football. Twice in the offside line team of the week. And he actually scored a try at Marr in the win there in January. So Ferguson on, but Marr now needing to build from deep. And they try to do that through one of the Bickerstaff brothers. Now it's in the forwards. Maybe a high shot in there by one of the Hawick forwards, but Marr maintain possession on their own 22. The feed back inside takes them another metre or two, not making headway at an alarming rate as far as Hawick are concerned. And now it's out to Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff's only got forwards to deal with. Big shot, but the referee deems that to be a high shot by Dalton Redpath. Dalton Redpath has a word with Gordy Reid as he trudges back into position. So not really what Hawick wanted, but Marr they don't look like they've got enough about them at this stage, Graeme. They've run out of ideas.
They have. I just can't see them scoring from back here, and that's a difficult one for Dalton. He's 6'4", flying across there, and the boy drops his shoulder. It's hard to keep your height any lower than that, really. So the referee's bang on. It wasn't a card or anything like that, but a bit of a get out for Marr. But you just feel that Hawick are comfortable. They certainly haven't let it up this afternoon, but it's semi-final rugby. It doesn't matter how you win, as long as you win the game.
A third try for Kelso. It's now 25 points to 13 to them, but they're looking for that try bonus, which of course Ayr already have against Biggar.
And the Marr penalty's been sent to the halfway line, but it's an overthrow and it's been gobbled up by Ross Graeme. So Hawick back in possession, just inside their own 22, and the arm comes out. It's going to be a Hawick scrum. 4 minutes remain here in this key semi-final. Looks like Curry have done the job at Maleny, maybe easier than we thought. We thought this game there'd be a bit more daylight in this game than there would be in Maleny, but how wrong we were. Marr have put up a fight here, absolutely. Their defence has been tenacious while without being overly comfortable in attack. They've not really had much territory or possession from which to launch anything, and it's going to be another Hawick scrum here. We're into the third last minute, and it's going to be Welsh to feed. Hawick 3 metres inside their own half. And Graeme, it's been workmanlike, if not spectacular, and it's been enough. It's been enough, and that's what we talk about, semi-final rugby. I think if we're being honest, and Hawick will be honest with themselves, they'll have to be better next week if they get through this to win the championship, but I'm sure they will, and they'll know that themselves. Kirkford now, and it's out to Lewis Ferguson, his first involvement, back inside to Ford, but it's been fumbled forward by Ford, so Marr now have the possession just outside their own 22, over on the far side. All to do here for Marr. They're 9 points adrift. 3 minutes remaining. Beckwith. Beckwith's got a runner in the shape of Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff fires it out to Callum Folan, the ex-Melrose man. Marr still with possession. 5 metres outside the 22. They need something from somewhere and quick. It's Sturgeon. Sturgeon's got runners. Now a bit of a gap does open up, and it's the rampaging second rower who runs right into it. Beckwith, Bickerstaff, Sturgeon to Andrew Ramage, who's come on, 2 tries to his name this season. Marr still camped inside their own half, however, and it's Cleland. He's thankfully okay after the head knock, but he's fumbled possession and it's been taken in by a Hawick player. Now Hawick with the territory inside the Marr half. Out the back door to Kirk to McKean. McKean's going to have to bring this infield away from the touchline. He does exactly that. Now it's Welsh. Welsh has got Redpath coming at 100 miles an hour. Dalton Redpath. Great half break by Redpath. but it's been taken by a Marr player. There was no support there for Redpath. He'd done all the hard work, but late in the game the tiring support weren't with him, and there's a penalty coming Marr's way. No, it's coming from a fumble forward, so it's going to be a scrum, and that'll suit Hawick fine.
That's fine, exactly. Dalton got a great line there off the scrum half, and unfortunately couldn't get his hands free to get the lift on the return pass to his 9. But it's Hawick are in the right part of the pitch. They're probably a little bit injury time. There'll be maybe 3 minutes left here. And I just can't see Hawick losing it from here, if I'm being honest. Obviously, from a Borders point of view, we certainly want Hawick in next week's final. And as you said before, they've worked away. They've looked very comfortable defensively. At the right times, they've kind of done the right things, although there's been a lot of mistakes. And Matty Douglas will go away and analyse this with his fellow coaches, and they'll pick off things that they need to get better at for next week. But it's semi-final rugby. A win's a win, and looking forward to a home final next week.
In National 2, the last kick of the match went to Dumfries. Dumfries have edged it 13 points to 11. 1 bonus point, losing bonus point for Berwick. That takes them up to 44 points, but Dumfries move up the table. They're now on 42. Later still, Curry, Edinburgh Accies. It's 28-7 to Curry. And down here, of course, Mansfield Park. Hawick 15, Marr 6 is a latest score. It's also Watsonians 13, Kelso 25, Stirling 20, Gala 24, Melrose 22, Highland 21, Ayr 33, Bigger 10, and it's all over at Ruberslaw, Aberdeen 32, GHK 49.
And according to the scoreboard clock, we're into the last minute here. It's a Marr scrum just inside their own 22, 14 or so metres in from the stand side. This big packed stand here at Mansfield, and they're going to have plenty to shout about in a minute or so, but the penalty's been conceded by Hawick, and Marr are going to have a chance to clean their lines, and they've gone quickly, but the referee's going to bring them back. It wasn't taken from the mark, and Hawick content just to eat up the clock here, and it's the word you used earlier. I was going to mention it, you used it just a minute ago, Graeme. Comfortable.
Yeah, I think the Hawick defence, I mean, it's hard to be as solid in defence as this and lose a game, and that's what's really won them this game. Their attack's been good in glimpses, but never been very, very exciting. But defence has been excellent all afternoon.
Yeah, and there was almost an interception there, and it's been fumbled forward by Marr. And there's another bit of afters here. There's some grappling, some Grecian wrestling. Andrew Ramage, who's come on for Marr, he's involved in that with Lewis Ferguson. I like that about Lewis Ferguson. The times I've seen him this season, he's not going to take anything from anybody.
Yeah, it's good to see that from a back. Got a little bit about them as well, and that'll make him a better player as well. He's obviously got that competitive edge. As a tenacious winger, and you'll find that these guys will score more tries than the laid back ones. That's for sure.
Yeah. So possibly the last play of the game coming here, or one of the last plays anyway. It's going to be a scrum to Hawick over on the banking side, 5 metres in. They put the handbacks away, and they're going to finish the rugby. Hawick scrum right on the 22, finishing with a flourish. It would be good for Hawick to give the fans something to shout about, but Hawick have done enough here. They are going to progress to the Tennent's Premiership final. They're 9 points in front here. Hawick 15, Marr 6. There's nothing remaining on the scoreboard clock. It all depends on the wristwatch of Sam O'Neill. This one could squirt out the back and be sent over the touchline on the banking, but the Hawick scrum is in the ascendancy here. Will there be a penalty as the result? Yes, there will. So a Hawick penalty inside the Marr 22. Will there be enough time to go for anything tangible? The game is in the bag. What are they going to do here? They're having a chat with the referee, and they're going to do the pragmatic thing. Kirk Ford is going to have a kick at the posts. Probably the right call. Yeah, definitely. As you said, Robin, the game's over. You go to the corner, you're on the risk of losing it, and Marr on the length and scoring. But at the end of the day, it's a semi-final win here for Hawick, and they were quietly confident. That was a good thing about the Hawick squad. I spoke to a few of them before, and a few of the management. They were quietly confident the whole time. They thought they would have enough for this game, which has been proven correct. But you just never know in these games. You always have those nerves, and it has been a nervy afternoon. It's not been a spectacle, for the neutral, that's for sure. But
it's semi-final rugby. It really doesn't matter. As you say, at 5 o'clock, it's where the results go on CFAX, and that's what matters.
CFAX, you're showing your age there, Graeme. Do you mean people are not tuned into Borders Rugby Radio? Surely nobody's checking. CFAX strikes the ball forward. The crowd like it on that far side. The crowd like it on the near side. The flags go up. The shrill of the referee's whistle brings this one to a close, and it's Hawick 18, Marr 16, and it's the Green Machine who will march on to the final of the Tenants Premiership. And Graeme, Dodds, nothing less than they deserve. Can the 6 points conceded today take them to 232 points conceded in 19 games now? Championships are built on defences, and that is a ridiculous statistic. It's a ridiculous statistic.
I mean, all credit to them. Their defence this afternoon has obviously mirrored what they've been like all season, Robin, and this afternoon's defence has been absolutely outstanding. Marr never looked like scoring a try against this Hawick side, and that's what Matty Douglas and his squad will take away for this today. Attacking wise, maybe didn't quite go to plan. Set piece was pretty scrappy today. That'll need to be better next Saturday, but the defence was so good that that won them the game. 18-6, fairly comfortable without lighting it up.
Yeah, tries for Ronan McKean in the first half, Jay Linton in the second half, couple of penalties and a conversion from Kirkford. And standout performers for you, Graeme?
I think Jay Linton up front, Fraser Rennick, both outstanding in attack and defence. Dalton Redpath just doing his usual, making a nuisance of himself around the park, hitting some great lines. And in the backs, just very solid. Nobody really lighting it up, but really impressed with the young winger Charlie Welsh in the first half. I thought he was outstanding. He was the best player on the pitch in the first half. He must have a big future, just the way he plays, the way he tackles, and he's quick as well and a big lad. So interesting to see what happens to him over the next few years. But yeah, for me, Jay Linton we talked about, and Fraser Rennick, just very, very, very good forwards.
Yeah, they've got an embarrassment of riches at the moment, Hawick, Graeme, and a few eyebrows maybe were raised at the selection of Charlie Welsh in a game of this magnitude. We said before, Lewis Ferguson went really well this season, 9 tries for him. What do those that raised their eyebrows know? Because Charlie Welsh, he was a standout performer.
Yeah, and I like that about Matty Douglas. He's a young, exciting coach, and he said it in the preview before the game. He's not scared to make a brave decision, and all credit to him. In years gone by, coaches go with the players that they know. And that Charlie Welsh has been outstanding since he came in for that Jed game, as Matty said. And pick your players on form, and you'll get the rewards. And he was, for me, one of the better backs on the field today. And absolutely, Matty was right in his decision.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to for Hawick. Of course, there's next week's Premiership final, but there's the Cup to play for as well. And looking forward to next season, Graeme. Let's not look too far forward, but we talk about this Hawick squad. It's so strong, and is there a wee bit of a dynasty potentially building here?
Well, I don't see why not. There's nobody really of an age that's thinking about retiring anyway. And you look at even Nicky Little and these guys getting to the older echelons of their career, but they're still in their early 30s. They're not as a prop. That's when they reckon they come into their prime. So. I think they're definitely building something here, and you can tell by the crowd. There's been a right vibe here since I arrived at 2 o'clock today. There's been a vibe around this place that I've certainly not felt for a long time at a club game.
Yeah, big old crowd here, almost like the days of yore here at Mansfield, and it could well be like the days of yore next week here at Mansfield Park, because it will be Hawick, the Green Machine, looking to return to the glory days. Not had their hands on the top prize in 21 long years. They will face off here against Purdie, the final of the Tenants Premiership, but it's finished here this afternoon. Semi-final, Hawick 18, Marr 6.
Yes, 28 points to 7 was the last we heard from Purdie. Certainly Emiratis aren't going to be getting that sort of scoreline back in the last couple of minutes. We're just waiting for the full-time whistle to go there. I can tell you that Melrose have got their 4th try. David Colvin's gone over. It's now 27-21 to Melrose against Highland. We'll get all the details for you straight after the break.
Based in Galashiels but covering the whole region and beyond, Borders Mortgage Hub is your one-stop shop for all things mortgage related in the Borders. Visit us at bordersmortgagehub.com or call us on 01896 807 008. That's 01896 807 008. Borders Mortgage Hub. Mortgages for the Borders in the Borders.
Hi, Nicky Walker here, Curriculum Manager for Borders College Sport. Are you passionate about sport? If so, then look out for the return of our Borders College rugby, football and hockey courses in early 2023.
Borders College, regionally focused, globally engaged.
To commemorate the 7th anniversary of the opening of the Borders Railway, an 8 DVD box set is now available featuring the complete series Borders Railway from start to finish, plus the full hour-and-a-half documentary 5 Years On, which examines the possibility of an extension to Carlisle, plus extra features including a cab journey along the entire Borders Railway, all for the special price of just £14.99, including post and packing. You can get your copy direct from hotdisc.co.uk/shop. That's hotdisc.co.uk/shop. The 8 DVD box set, The Complete Borders Railway, is available now.
When the weather's dreich and a storm's a brewing, you need a strong, windproof, quality umbrella delivered with good old-fashioned customer service and at an affordable price. Up here in Umbrella Heaven, we say you tackle the ball, we'll tackle the weather. UmbrellaHeaven.com for when the heavens open.
Borders Rugby TV's charity partner Evie's Baton Journey is having a ball on March the 25th at Springwood Park, Kelso. Tickets and sponsorship details are now available on the official Facebook page, which you can visit from bordersrugby.net. Evie's having a ball, March the 25th, Springwood Park, Kelso.
This is Borders Rugby Special on Borders Rugby Radio.
Yes, we're still waiting on the final score at Maleny Park. It's currently Currie 28, Inverrackie 7, so I think you can almost say that it's going to be Hawick against Currie here at Mansfield Park in the Premiership Play-off final next week. Let's quickly go over the National 1 scores that we have. A full-time result, Aberdeen 32, GHK 49, Ayr 33, Biggar 10, Melrose, it's 27, Highland 21. That game is still playing. Stirling County 20, Gala 24 is a final result, and they're still playing at Marrside. It's currently Watsonians 13, Kelso 25. Kelso looking for that 4th bonus point. But the victorious captain of Hawick, Sean Muir, has just come up to the back of the stand, and Robin Purdie is going to have a few words with him.
Yeah, Sean, first of all, congratulations. Semi-final win. It was attritional at times, but how does that feel, final next week?
Thank you. Absolutely delighted. We've obviously got one better than last year, which was the aim obviously this season. So delighted. That was a tough game out there. I think first 5-10 minutes it was about 15 scrums, so it taken its toll in the end, but outstanding for the boys who dug in. And playoff rugby's all about winning. Doesn't matter how we get there, it's all about winning. I say that to the boys before the game.
It looked a tough old battle, as you say, in the early stages. The first half, was there it was a wee bit error-strewn in places. Was there some semi-final nerves, a bit of pressure perhaps?
Well, I wouldn't be lying. Obviously there would be. Boys home semi-final, who've, like, a lot of the boys are new to that. There was nerves. I think you seen the first 10 minutes, like I says, but we got through that and we stuck in and battled. Fair play to Marr. I thought they were outstanding, very physical team, and they didn't let go of their crown that easy today. Yeah,
you're the best defensive team in this league by a long chalk. You went down the tunnel 5-3 to the good, only 5-3 to the good at half time. I'm guessing there is that confidence in that green wall, as we were calling it. It looks impregnable.
Now look, we back our day, we work on it, and I think you've seen all season we could see 12 points a game. We knew that it would be tough to break down if we just kept our discipline and just left the ball and gave them no easy ins through 22. I do think they were in our 22 very much today, so that says a lot from our defence. We back it. Our attack probably wasn't as sharp as it has been, but now our defence is outstanding. Some of the boys in that team will tackle all day.
Yeah, and you came out, it appeared all guns firing in the second half. An early penalty and a good penalty by Kirkford, did that ease any nerves that might have remained?
Aye, definitely. We had a big emphasis at half time that the next 15-20 minutes was going to be key. We had to build a lead. I think if Marr were still in there with 5-10 to go, it would have been a bit nervy. So coming out with that start, getting over the gain line, getting a couple of scores was massive for us.
Yeah, and obviously this week it's going to be a big old week here at Mansfield. Currie will make their way here from Maleny next Saturday. It'll be the first opportunity in 21 long years to pick up the big prize. What will this week look like for the club?
Nothing changes for us. We'll come to training Tuesday, Thursday. We'll prepare like we have prepared all season. It's a massive chance for us to put this club back on the map, if I'm honest. It's been a long 20 years, a painful 20 years, a few relegations, battling at the bottom, and now we're hopefully going to put the club, I feel, where it belongs, back to the top.
Well, you boys have certainly done this proud old club proud this season. Sean, congratulations on a semi-final win, and we wish you all the very best next week.
Cheers, thanks Robert, cheers.
Sean Muir talking to Robin Purdie. We've got Conor Bickerstaff coming up now as well, the losing captain of Marr, who certainly played their part today. Robin Purdie's going to be having a chat with him as well. I can tell you that Curry have now gone 35-7 ahead in Ian Simtry. They're still playing there. They had a break of about 10 minutes in that game. So Curry home and dry in that one, and it's Hawick home and dry in this one, but not without a fight. Let's join Robin Purdie and Conor Bickerstaff.
Yeah, as Stuart says there, Conor, commiserations first of all, but what a battle that was.
Yeah, it was definitely a battle. I'm still trying to catch my breath a wee bit after that, so we knew it was going to be tough down here. Hawick have been formidable really since 2019, I think, so it's been a tough game today. Hawick well deserved winners, I think, overall, but we kept ourselves in there. 8-6, we're still in the game. We just didn't do enough really down in their half, and in the end Hawick deserved to win.
Yeah, and I was in and around your team pre-match. You looked like you'd come down here very much zoned in. You look like men on a mission.
Yeah, we obviously had the title to try and defend. We've had a very much up and down season, and we managed to sneak into top 4 above Selkirk. So we knew that this, coming into this was almost our cup final. We knew that if we got over Hawick or been impressive this year, we'd have a good chance in that final next week. But just not enough in the end, and Hawick well deserved winners, as I said.
Yeah, you went down the tunnel only 5-3 adrift. What was said down there at half time?
Just more the same really. We did well. We were patient in the kicking battle. We just had to try and get a bit more territory in Hawick's half, which was difficult at times, and it showed that in the second. But we were still in the game at 5-3. More of the same was obviously the message from the coaches, but we just probably didn't do enough with ball in hand.
Yeah, and Hawick are defensively the meanest team in the league by quite a long chalk actually this season. How do you even begin to think, or as the game wears on and you've thrown everything at them, what's the mindset against that green wall?
Yeah, today we thought we had good conditions for rugby to try and move it about, and it suits our kind of lighter pack and mobile backs, but Hawick were so good in defence. The first up hits, we were having to chuck in 3-4 boys to break down. We couldn't get any width in the game. Our 10s are in there, 9s are getting tied up, and we just couldn't play that expansive game at all. So Hawick do their homework, the analysis is there, they know how to stop us, and yeah, we just couldn't get any. We tried to get maybe touchline to touchline plays, and maybe only got it once or twice in the game, so they were brilliant defence today, like you said.
And looking forward, Conor, to next season, does the nucleus of this squad remain?
Yeah, I think the message is for a lot of the older boys like myself, my brother, and Colin Sturgeons and the likes. We're trying to maybe keep a lot of boys for at least one more and try and hold on to try and go at it again. This year's been up and down, losing boys to Super 6. We've lost a few to the Bulls already, so it's always hard with that Super 6 side going and taking your players, which is the stepping stone for some players. But the message is try and keep the core, build again, and try and have a good crack next season.
Well, Conor, commiserations here at Mansfield today, but we wish you well for the remainder of this season and next season.
That's great, thanks very much. Cheers.
Curry definitely have won. It's Curry 35, Emberackies 7. There was a delay of about 10 to 13 minutes there for an injury. Let's quickly go over what we have for you in National 1, and we can go to Marr side. Watsonians against Kelso. It's all over there. Come in, Hugh Brown.
Well, it was a better second half for Kelso with 2 tries. A Bruce McNeil pushover in 67 minutes, followed 2 minutes later by Murray Hasty. But Watsonians gave them a fright when they equalised in the 62nd minute with a penalty from Heber. But a win is a win. They also pick up, of course, the inaugural Clive Miller Cup. And the final score here at Marr side was Watsonians 13, Kelso 25.
So no bonus point for Kelso. Let's have a look at the table as it stands. Kelso at the top with 83, Ayr second 82, Melrose 75, Gala 61, Highland 51 and Biggar 45. That's the top of the table as we see it. The scorelines were Aberdeen 32, GHK 49, Ayr 33, Biggar 10. Still waiting on Dundee again against Stuart's Melville. Melrose was 27, Highland 21, and we'll get a report hopefully from Andrew Fleming very, very shortly. Stirling County 20, Gala 24, full-time result. And as we've just heard from Hugh Brown, Watsonians 13. It's Kelso 25. Into National 2, Berwick 11, Dumfries 13. Last kick of the game, a very low-scoring affair there at Scremerston, but Berwick just coming away with 1 point instead of 4. Boroughmuir 71. Cartha Queen's Park 12, Falkirk 38, Peebles 21. They are results. Lastwade 46, Hamilton 33 is a result. Newton Stewart 27, Preston Lodge 10. Newton Stewart still battling it out with Falkirk, and Glasgow Accies at the top of National 2. Glasgow Accies against Kirkcaldy today. That's going to be a big, big match. We haven't heard anything from Beveridge Park, from Glasgow Accies ground as yet. Also earlier on, we saw the semi-junior decided in favour of Peebles Colts. It was Peebles Colts 52. It was Morpeth Colts 34. So 86 huge points in that game. Robin Purdie, have you got your breath back? I'll give you the microphone as well. There you go. Try that.
Yeah, quite the occasion here at Mansfield this afternoon. Nervy stuff, tetchy stuff at times, fragmented, error-strewn. Everything you expect in a semi-final, it was all on the line, and there's no talk of bonus points. The teams kick their goals rather than potentially going to the corner, and Hawick are in the final, and that's all that matters as far as they're concerned. And what a game that's going to be, because Curry really coming into some form. I mean, it's very different to what we saw when Curry came here and conceded 40 odd points. In fact, also at Millennium Park, Hawick scored even more than that. I think it was 46 points at Millennium Park. So they'll be confident going in against Curry, but you never write off Curry. Yeah, a couple of 40 pointers, as you say there, and I think Curry have a wee bit of a different look about them now to what they had earlier in the season. You know, they've got some good backs in there, Curry, but we look at how Hawick performed today, and we're sort of sat here at the back of the stand, and we see the full picture, and that Hawick line, that Hawick defence, you just wonder how any team is going to breach it to the extent that they're going to win a game. Very, very well prepared they were for this today. Oh, they were. They're immensely well coached, in my opinion. What a job Matty Douglas has done. I mean, what is he, in his mid-20s still? Yeah, incredible. And he's got a great team around him as well. Graeme Hogg's in there as well, and all credit to them. But this, to me, just feels like a club that's all pulling together. Let's be honest, it could be said that that's not always been the case here in the town, but they're all pulling together. They've got one focus this season, and they've got one focus now. They've got one game left, and what an occasion it's going to be here at Mansfield next Saturday. And we've got a dilemma next week, haven't we? We've got 3 incredible games. We've got Gala Melrose at Netherdale, big local derby, of course, which we always are interested in, particularly this season, where they've had one big win against each. But we've also got Kelso against Ayr, and at the top of the table there, it's Kelso 83, it's Ayr 82. It couldn't be any tighter than that without them actually both being on 83 points or 82 points, but that's going to be a cracker. And then we've got this one here as well, and they're all kicking off at 3 o'clock. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, we'll get bodies out and around the grounds, no doubt, but it's a mouth-watering prospect of border, high quality border rugby next Saturday, and massive game here, and massive crowd here today, and it's great to see. I love to see a big and vociferous crowd here at Mansfield, and that's what we got, and it'll be more of the same next week, no doubt. But you're absolutely right, it'll be the same at Kelso, and it'll be the same at Netherdale. And Glasgow Accies' result has just come in. It's Glasgow Accies 64, Kirkcaldy 19. That's a huge win for Glasgow Accies, particularly with Kirkcaldy being in sort of fairly recently good form, but they do have games in hand over there as well. So full 5 points for Glasgow Accies as well, as they try and contend the National 2 title along with Newton Stewart and also Falkirk as well, who both had big wins today. So, let's have a quick look at
else, what's happening next week in National 1? We've got Biggar against Aberdeen, Gala against Melrose, GHK against Dundee, Highland versus Watsonians, Kelso Ayr and Stuart's Melville against Stirling County. But the closing headlines for tonight, where were wins for Currie and also for Hawick in the Premiership Play-offs, and those two will go head-to-head here at Mansfield Park next week. In National 1, victories for GHK, for Ayr, for Melrose, for Kelso and for Gala. Still waiting on the result from Dundee against Stuart's Melville. Nationally, or should I say locally in National 2, Berwick just losing out by the point against Dumfries. Peebles scored 3 tries, but it wasn't enough. Falkirk taking all 5 points there. Next week we'll be coming to you live from Poynter Park for the crucial National 1 top of the table clash between Kelso and Ayr. We'll also have a commentary team here at Mansfield Park for the final between Hawick and Currie. I think it's going to be a very busy programme. Plus, as I said, there's Gala against Melrose as well. So that's going to be a packed programme. And that's happening in 7 days' time. I can hardly wait. But that's it from the team and me. We'll see you in 7 days' time. Bye for now.